What's going on, Fortnite fam? Welcome to the Fortnite Champion Series. This is it. Qualifier number 3. Also, happy Mother's Day. Welcome to the broadcast. Thanks so much for tuning in and hanging out with us. My name is Zeke. I'll be your host for the show. Joining us here on the analyst desk, we've got Reese and we have Levin. Gentlemen, this is it. Qualifier number 3. Last chance to place top 3 and auto-qual into finals. Or hope to God you have enough series points. Guys, how are your stress levels right now? Mine are through the roof.
You look, for me, stress levels are absolutely great because I'm excited to watch some good games. I'm sure some of these players are feeling opposite though, right? They have to make that top 3. It's big for a lot of these teams. Me, hey, we just get to watch some good games. Let's be real.
Yeah, like Z, why are you stressed, bro? You get to chill with us. You know, we get to watch the game, sit back. We get to, act like, you should have done this better. You know, the players are the ones that should be stressed, right? Because, like you guys say, it's the last chance to qualify, and you do want to be one of the teams that auto qualifies, right? So, going to be a lot of pressure, a lot of high stakes, but ultimately going to be a lot of fun, right?
Absolutely, and I can't wait to get into all the games, but first we got to talk about the actual show. Before we get into things, let's talk about the tournament. As you guys are aware, we're starting things off in Europe. After this, we jump over to NA East and we end the day in NA West. 6 matches per each region. So if you like what you're seeing, come back for these other regions because we have more Fortnite ahead of us. Now let's talk about the actual tournament breakdown here. You guys have already seen this graphic a few times. It's not that scary, right? Right now we're in qualifiers. Now do keep in mind this weekend, the weekend of the 14th, we're taking off. So that means we'll be back the 22nd for semifinals. The 23rd will be the reboot round. And then the following week, 29th and 30th, we're going right into the finals. But we'll worry about all of that when we get there, right, Reese? Right now, we're focused in qualifier number 3.
Yeah, like Zeke said, this is confusing. So let's narrow down on things that are really important that we need to watch for today. We're in qualifier 3. There's 4 rounds total this weekend. 3 of these are already done. We're all into the 4th round, the top 33 teams from this qualifier. So this is the last chance for teams to qualify for the semi-finals, which will be in 2 weeks' time. However, if you come top 3 today, you're going to skip those semi-finals and you're going to go straight to the finals. So top 3 is really, really important. And in terms of getting to the semi-finals, the stage before that, teams just need to get series points, which basically happens when you come anywhere underneath 3rd all the way down. So players placing high up will be doing really, really well, making sure they confirm their slots in the semi-finals, whereas top 3, where teams really want to be, skip that and go straight to the finals.
And how will these players actually acquire points? Well, as you can see on the bottom of your screens, players will receive 2 points per every single elimination. If you take a look at the top left, first place, right? That victory will net you a grand total of 30 placement points for the game. Players will start to receive points when they're one of the last 24 teams remaining in the lobby, and at that point they will receive 5, and you can see it just goes on progressively. So lots of points to be had, and whoever gets that top 3, the auto qual, it's gonna be it's gonna be huge, right? It's that huge game potential swing, and definitely gonna be some fun.
And of course, you can't forget, they're all playing for prize money. Here's a breakdown of your 7 regions, but it's not only prize money that these teams have their eyes set on. It's the notoriety, it's the fame, it's the moment of glory, and of course, it's the Axe of Champions, an in-game pickaxe they'll be able to hold on to and defend going into the next FNCS. So quite a bit to look at, quite a bit to break down, and of course, when we make it to finals, we will be losing our minds. Now, we got to talk about a couple of these other things before we get into the games. First off, 2 of these other regions, we just kind of saw the prize breakdown. They're done. Their qualifier 3 has been done and wrapped up. So we can take a look at their standings, see how things went for them, and see if things have kind of changed this within the meta, this thing we like to talk about. Coming out of Asia, we've got Lettuce, Hemopy, and Doken in that number 1 spot. Wow, Reese, the 220 points.
Yeah, these guys were on fire today. Realistically, there's nothing else I could say. They placed 3rd, 2nd, and 3rd in 4 of their matches, and then the other 2, they didn't get worse than an 8th placement. Not managing to pick up a victory royale, but I mean, it's about as close as you can get, having 3 thirds and a 2nd. So huge performance from these guys. They were a very low ground focused team, which is why they kind of able to get such a good amount of consistency in. They managed to beat out teams such as Kenshi's team in 2nd, who got 2 victory royales with 193 points, which is still a ton. So really good performance from them, and these guys are moving straight through to the finals.
Yeah, in the first week of EU qualifiers, right, we had the Craggy team showing you don't need victory royales, right, to necessarily qualify through. You can see here though in OCE, Jinx, Alec, and Worthy finally securing themselves an auto qualification spot. And, I'm sure they'll be happy to finally get it. I know they were a bit disappointed with themselves that they didn't get it sooner, but regardless, right, this is definitely a team you'd expect to see do well in the finals. And so it's good that they finally booked their ticket for that. But a bunch of other top teams who, will likely be making an appearance in the semifinals, the likes of Repulse and his trio, fan favorite in Fresh Right sitting there in 8th with Rel and Oatly. So definitely some top names going to be competing in OCE, and it's going to be a fun region to watch.
It always is. It's always a good one to watch. It's one of our smallest regions we have here, which makes it very top heavy, but there's still a lot of really good teams to watch, some huge talent that we see every time we go to LAN. There's some really, really big performances. So it's always a good region to watch.
Hey, and speaking of huge talent, in case you guys at home weren't here last weekend, we have a recap of your top 3 teams from Qualifier 2, which was last weekend. Guys, talk us through these top 3 trios.
Look, Kaiser, Hellfire, and Flawless, I think surprised probably a lot of us, because I remember at the top of the show, we weren't super focused on this team because they were contested and lazy, and it looked like there was a ton of teams going there. But these guys popped off. In their 5th game or 4th game, they got 17 eliminations in 3rd. And in the game you're watching right now, the final match, they got that victory royale with 12 eliminations again, and that actually qualified them in 3rd.
Yeah, taking a look here at Mr. Savage, Refsguard, and Dretta. These guys are definitely fan favorites, right? Of course, Mr. Savage as well being one of the biggest names in all of Fortnite. When they formed as a trio, there were concerns about whether they'd be able to, play to that standard that you'd expect out of such top-heavy names. They've done that, right? They were impressive in the first qualifier, barely missed out on qualifying, and in week 2, they were able to finally secure it. And now we're going to get the chance to see them at Steamy Stacks in the finals, and I'm hoping they'll be able to perform to the same standard because they have been impressive to watch.
Very. Over the 2 weeks that they were here, these guys did so good. 6th and then a 2nd, so that's incredible. But in that game you just watched of them popping off, they got 14 eliminations, but the game that they were going against was Kiriachi Stormer in 2, so actually ended up winning that game, which was game 5, and then ended up coming 2nd in game 6. So, throughout the day, the first 4 kind of matches that there were, a little bit slow, maybe a bit of a sleeper team, but in those last 2 matches, they popped off with the 1st and the 2nd with plenty of eliminations. So huge props to these guys. Ended up coming 1st. A ton of really nice plays, nice clips coming up from these guys too, and huge props. I'm a big Kiriachi fan. Look, I'm gonna say, I've been watching him since the solo cash cups of Season X, when the replay client just allowed you to watch the VODs the first time, and he was always up there, so I'm a big fan, so it's great to kind of see them through into the finals.
Oh, absolutely. Now, guys, we want to kind of shift gears a little bit here because we want to talk through what the series point leaderboard looks like. In case you guys are kind of tuning in for the first time, if you place in the top 3, you will auto qualify into finals. However, the series leaderboard here that you are seeing is a breakdown. It's the top 99 trios that are moving on to semifinals the week of the 22nd. So right now, Reese, Levin, I'm looking at my total series leaderboard points. 220, I'm not comfortable right now. That's not enough.
No, and you shouldn't be, right? You need to be in the top 99 for series leader points across the entire of the 3 qualifiers, right? So a lot of these teams, this is kind of notable. This is not the finalized series points, right? So these are kind of including some of the placements these guys could get today. And what we should note, right, from this page in particular, the teams that are important are the teams who are going to be playing today who can get over that 99th block. So we have Code, Merit, and Jose in the kind of 103rd slot, along with Jatu, Kefi, and Kubex in 105, and in 107 is Relvis, Crust, and Proxen. So they're all playing today, and they need to kind of get over the top 27th to make it in. And on this page, 111, 112, and 113. So the top 3 teams that you're seeing there all need to get at least top 26. Now, this is not finalized because, again, things could change when other players move up and move down in the leaderboards. But just remember, pretty much the 6 teams that we've mentioned here all need to be at least top 26 to be able to get through into the semifinals. Now, hopefully, obviously, they're going to be looking to get top 3, so they go straight to finals. At the same time, top 26 is where they need to be.
I'm liking it. It's a lot of stress right now, a lot of tension coming into these games. Now, we got to talk about our favorite part of this is kind of like the early game breakdown, right? We've got 17 trios making a return appearance in qualifier number 3, and only 2 of those trios, Andalex's trio and Floki's trio, that have actually made every single qualifier. So I want to kind of see which of these trios are going head to head, and what better way to do this than Telestration? That's right. We've got Reese, we've got Levin. They're going to be drawing on the map and breaking it all down for us. Gentlemen, let's do this.
Look, I love this. This is my favorite part of the day, okay? So one of the biggest things we want to be looking at is in Resale Row and Dirty Dogs, right? In Resale Row, right here, we had Kiko, Scram, and Putrick, right? They've been contesting, and previously they've been contested by Wolfie's Void and Slender. However, Wolfie's Void and Slender have decided they've seen an opening in Dirty Docks, and they're going, you know what? Instead of contesting one of our ex-teammates in Slender and Kiko, we said, you know what? We're going to take an uncontested Dirty Docks instead.
Yeah, I think that was one of the more interesting dynamics when, you know, the new sort of format came in where, you know, the top 3 in FNCS would auto-qual to the next finals. You know, the best dirty team are not competing in qualifiers, right? And so, of course, Wolfie's trio, they've identified that they're going to try drop there and see if they can qualify because, you know, in the first week when we saw them contest that retail, things didn't necessarily go well, right? So if they can sort of come out on top of dirty, it's going to be interesting, right? Because of what happens, right? When they get to finals and they're against Thomas and Aesthetic, you'd assume they'd have to move. And so things could get difficult for them. But today at dirty, they definitely have a good shot to perform well.
Yeah, big shot today, and I think, you know, if they make it through to the finals, they're moving back to retail. Let's be real, that's where they're comfortable right now. But some of the other teams that we really need to focus on, like everyone's going to be asking. I know everyone's asking the question, what's Pleasant Park looking like? So right now, who is landing in Pleasant Park? Benji, Matzo, and Amplify. We know these guys. There's been a battle over the last 3 weeks of who's going to be fighting here, who's going to be contesting. They are going there so far. Now, there's been on the social media some irkings, but potentially may not be true. However, we've seen Clement, Floki's team, and Disiptos, who were contesting, have said that they're landing Craggy, but also have said that they're landing Slurpee at some points. So last week, we saw Skype do something similar where they said they were landing somewhere else, and then ended up just surprising them in the first game, you know, maybe a little bit of deception. So that may be happening here today. However, we may see that not be contested. We may see them go back to Slurpee or Craggy today. So we'll find out really in the first game.
Look, Reese, you know, regardless of whether the fake out is real or not, right? We've seen that both teams can be successful coming out of Pleasant Park. We've seen that. The issue is that when they've contested each other, things don't go well. And of course, that means that we've seen, right? You know, Floki, Disiptos, and Clement, they're thinking of now going to Slurpee. That's what they've said essentially on social media. It's going to be interesting because they have been one of the top teams, right? They have been a team that, you know, we've decided to spotlight for this reason because in their performances in recent times, they've been, you know, great. If you look at round 3 yesterday, you know, they had 2 games where they achieved 40 points, right? That's more than anybody else in round 3. And they also had 3 victory royales in that session, right? Tied for first. So, you know, these guys can show coming out of Pleasant, we can be one of the best teams in the region, right? But can they do it if they do go to Slurpee today? We don't know yet. It's going to be a question mark, but definitely something to watch out for.
Yeah, and you know, those first top 2 stats are from yesterday's round 3. However, the bottom 2 stats are overall, right? So round 4 trips, so we've had 3 qualifiers. They've made every single round 4. Like we've already mentioned, what Zeke said is that it's only 2 teams who've made every single round 4 so far. And that's this team of Floki, Clement, Disiptos, and also Andalex's team as well. And last week, they managed to place 4th. And like I already said, they were just nudged out of that top 3 position, which is so tough. It's very heartening. You know, it made it exciting when we were sitting talking about the kind of the Kiriachi's team and how they perform, but how unfortunate it is for kind of this team is definitely heartbreaking. So they're going to come back today strong, and hopefully they are vying for that top 3 as well.
And even if they don't make top 3, they still have this series points, right? They're still going into semifinals. But yeah, they want to make that top 3. They want to say, look, we need to focus on finals. We need to refine our strategies and make sure we have our eyes set on the axe of champions. Now, guys, speaking of top trios, we got to talk predictions. Which trios you think will come out in that number 1 spot after today's qualifier number 3? 11, Reese, you guys did this back in qualifier 1, and you're here to do it in qualifier 3. You're picking the same trio. Talk to me right now.
I think there's great reason. And I think when you look at the players competing today, Seti, Cammy, and Teak, you know, in terms of just in their current form and historically are one of the better trios in this lobby, right? And I think for that alone, they were always going to be one of the teams you'd expect to do well. In particular, right, when speaking to their coach, Sven, you know, he's told me how they've refined their storm surge strategy. They figured out things that went wrong last week and they're looking to change that for this week. So I'm confident that they'll do well.
Yeah, and me and Levin, we're the big brains here, and we're taking the same team. So let's be real. Let's look over the Shio and Sancho's picks. I'm sure they're also great though. So you know, Shio looking to Andalex, Snazy, X Squeeze. You know, I kind of already mentioned the kind of really unfortunate circumstances of Floki's team last week, but they, you know, Andalex, Snazy, and X Squeeze in week 1 had the exact same thing happen to them, where in the first 4 games they were in first, and then they managed to drop out of that top 3. And you know, Sancho managed to go with Amplify, Matzo, and Benji. Another fantastic pick. You know, we've already highlighted these guys, but if they end up being contested by Floki's team in Pleasant Park, man, this could be a difficult prediction for Sancho, definitely.
My gosh, there's so much. Like, I'm just thinking about these next 6 games. What could happen? Which trios could not end up making it, or which trios could say, look, this is our final shot. We make the top 3. We're going to finals, baby. There's so much that we'll be breaking down here on the analyst desk between games. But Fortnite fam, we know what you're here for. It is 6 games of Qualifier 3. The final shot. Will teams make it in that top 3? Will they make the series points needed to go to semi-finals? This is it. It's all on the line. We got to kick things off in style. So who better to do that than Shio Wager and Sancho West? Friends, say hello.
Lots of style on the desk. Lots of style still left for us to show off, Sancho, but it's all about risk and reward in this last week. A chance to skip the semifinals and go straight to the top. That's what everyone's gunning for.
At the same time, that is what a lot of teams definitely need. A lot of our competitors today, Shio, often fall in the heats, so it could be now or never. It is top 3. Get into the finals. Here we go, Shio. Game 1, week 3, baby. Let's get it.
This is that defining game. We see exactly what drop spots break down. Is Pleasant contested? Is it all, just gas in the air from Floki's team? Is there going to be a big fight there? Who knows? Caddy will always have the same trio landing there week after week after week. Can Snazy, Andalex, and XQueeze finally qualify? Skip those semis, be in the finals, because we know that these guys are one of the most prestigious trios inside EU. Past that, all across the map, you heard Levin and Reese break it down. There's so many off-spawn contestants going through, and game 1 is where they're the most visceral.
Yeah, and that was just a taste of what's going down in Caddy. No doubt the bus is definitely very far, but that's going to be a huge eye of interest, so to speak, throughout the entire day, as you mentioned, considering that Andalex, Snazy, and the XQueeze came off some bad performances so far in these round 4. And this is my prediction: Benji, Matzo, and Amplify, considering that they have this uncontested here at Pleasant Park. And I really believe with the changes that this trio made, where they make Benji be the in-game leader, the in-game tarper, I think this is why they're going to be able to overcome the issues that they had previously and get their way into a top 3 finish, Shio.
And the last time when I saw you make this prediction, my mind was kind of thinking emoji, right? Like, what if Floki comes through? What if Pleasant gets grief? But it's a lot more pleasant right now than it is kind of a zoo or a big park with lots of kids at the playground, right? We're chilling there. So I'm glad that Benji can prosper. Amplify and Matzo can pop off in the end game as well. And over here at Caddy 2, Snazy, XQueeze, and Andalex, we're contested on paper. Looks like quickly either the fight gets disengaged or they're just chilling now and get to just re-loot real quick before they get on with their game.
You're taking a look here. There's a lot of veterans into the round 4. 17 trios returning from the qualifiers 1 and 2. Snazy's trios here being one of them that's participated in both of them, as pointed out on the analyst desk. And already they're kind of a little jockeying right there, letting the team down there at the weather station do not come down in here to Caddy corners. We're going to defend ourselves, and this has always been the question, Shio, throughout the entire qualifiers. Can XQueeze, Snazy, and Andalex be able to survive off spawn? Because when they do, they'll be able to put up some big-time consistent numbers into some high placements. But so far, especially last week, they finished in 30th place because Sky Trio was there, and they caused a lot of ruckus.
Yeah, for the qualifiers, it's all about placing top 3. If you guys are used to watching the FNCS from seasons before, it's top 10, top 6. That's all cool, but we really upped the ante this time. In the first qualifier, they came 5th. We're very close to qualifying overall. As Sancho mentioned, that was completely uncontested. They got to play their game. And this last one, we had, I believe it was Vato, Skite and company roll through, really give them a hard time. They ended up 30th, as Sancho said. That is a drastic difference.
And we go from the first instances of being a decorated trio to being in the finals to teams that haven't been here before. And that is Kaljao and Kashi.
Yeah, it's actually so much less likely in a sense as well, because gotta remember, 2 qualifiers have already passed. A lot of trios have history. They've been here before in general. They understand how things work. For a trio like this who hasn't been here, rolling in and really trying to pop, it's so much more so difficult. Escanor already down, a 2-man situation. This bridge is where lives can basically get ended.
And at the same time, when you're in this situation, when this is your best, so far performance in the FNCS, you're going to have to do better than your best. And that's going to be really difficult for new trios, considering that they're, like we saw in that stat, 17 trios have been here before in the round 4. So this is going to be a big time factor. We already saw in the feed, Bad Sniper down in Lazy Lake, already getting some knocks in that one. And that was a big scrum earlier that we'll definitely keep an eye out as well. This is just game 1. And we've been seeing traditionally in the EU, game 1 and 2, kind of chill. kind of passive, kind of feeling each other out. Later in the game, especially 3 and 4, that's when the action ramps up.
Absolutely. One big thing too is that it's not just about the top 3. The series points leaderboard is also underway, as we saw earlier on today. Top 99 are going to be a big thing right now, though. A two-man situation, the best thing you can do is isolate a fight, so they go straight for Stasio, and he's in trouble now. The whole trio's still there, though, inside Hydro 16, and it looks like the waterworks are about to start for one team at least, because if someone goes down here to equalize the playing field, and we'll have a 2v2 go through, or a Kaojo and Kashi might just be in a very difficult situation.
And we all know, especially the fans out there in you, how important is an equalizer into an engagement here. Here we go. We got a battle down here in Hydro 16. Nice build off Sinks right there, stopping that build up right from Kaojo, but the battle is happening down below. This is kind of interesting here. The first time that we've seen the tack shotgun back. Just not enough of Kaojo. Try to follow up that SMG spray. Down he goes, Sinks with a great defensive play, and now we go from an equalizer situation to a 3v1, and this is not where Kashi here has got to perform, and hey, with the makeshift, he's gonna have to make something happen here, Shy.
Hopefully this is just absolutely
shambles.
dramatic to look at. Super shambles, 5 shots, the makeshift great bomb. Like that's not going to work out. So they'll make a little bit of a beacon. Looks like a lighthouse here over at Hydro 16. Some other players might know to stay away or maybe bite off a bit more than they can chew, but we'll go back to business as usual. Meanwhile, taking a look at Colossal Crops. A little bit of fights might be breaking down as well. Just some beam ups to see what people can do. There's chaos around the entire map.
Yeah, you know, we had a brief solo of Code trio right there. They were the kind of trio in round 3, kind of experimented. They floated around all over the map. So let's see where they decide. It looks like they decided to make a home in round 4 here in Colossal Crops. And also, just going back to this trio right here, Stasio's trio, you know, Sins and Stasio kind of stick in the heat stage. So definitely this will be a huge thing for them. If they get in that top 3, they get to bypass where their ultimate, I guess, roadblock has been in their FNCS career. And that's what I like so much about the top 3 format here, is just like in last week, we had Kirachi. You know, Kirachi is one of those guys that's been around the scene forever. And for him to be back into the finals and alongside the Gem side, we got some excitement here going into the next couple at the end of the month here.
There's lots of big clapbacks rolling through. We haven't seen a lot of these teams play, but we will be able to see it the final 2 days for the finals. Meanwhile, lots of different stories on screen. We're talking about Qual 3, the last chance for Josie, Code, and their teammate Merheen. These guys need a guaranteed top 29 actually to qual. Based on the series points, they don't actually have enough to be top 99. That's the next cutoff we kind of have to allow people in the semifinals. It's 3 lobbies of 33, so if the math does add up, that should be 99. They need to basically not completely flop. One good game should get them by about 20 points, and we'll be seeing them in the semis. If they want to make the finals, though, still need that top 3.
And that other POV, we saw Enzar's trio coming from Sweaty Sands. That's another trio that kind of needs the same kind of performance, you know? Don't give up the bag, just stay in the pocket, just be around. Don't do anything drastic. Just trying to stick to the game plan. As you're seeing Coach here kind of dead center here of the safe zone. Opportunities at the end. And we haven't really talked about this here yet, but there have been changes here in the FNCS. The reintroduction of the infantry rifle, the reintroduction of the tac shotgun could be some interesting things. Expect some more valuable Storm Surge tags from the infantry rifle out there in the distance. And I've been watching, Shayo, that a lot of B teams in the VODs, they've been playing a little bit more center, a little bit more traditional edge play, considering they have a little bit more, you know, confidence in their accuracy.
A little more oomph.
A little bit more
Trump,
oomph.
so to speak, right? Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
that rifle hits hard, man. Still,
It
like, you know, you
hits.
gotta give
It
up
beams.
something inside the inventory
Yes.
for it. It takes medium ammo to shoot. A lot of people are already used to the bows, right? So
I've seen that other teams take a assault rifle and an infantry rifle just to have a little bit of both, considering in-game, the infantry rifle kind of struggles when you're trying to do those triple sprays or you're trying to have those box fights. So it's great to have in these early engagements in mid-game, but at the same time, you may want to toss it aside when you get into in-game.
gotta pick and choose what you can do. Yeah, once again, man, it's Qual 3, right? Like the stakes are so much higher. Every mistake, if it gets punished, like you used to have, what, 18 different chances in these final games. Like, you know, we have 3 weeks to play for. You know, people can say, oh, next week it's fine. You can say once again, oh, next week it's fine. But like, you know, in terms of having practice and the time is basically running out. These are the last 6 games you basically get to play before you end up hitting semis.
And that's why I think for Alex's trio is, do you want to risk going down into the semis? That is something that, you know, they've been having issues fighting off a spawn. Semis, it could be a little bit difficult for them. But here's another trio coming in at 33rd into this round. You know, they're back into the fight. Attack and Gogos, this is actually their second time here in a set lobby. And they're trying to get into their first finals appearance. And this is one of those trios that have been landing out there in Camp COD, having some decent runs. And if they could get a couple of limbs, they tend to end the game about 4 or 5 limbs. Right now, a little bit of a slow start, a little bit of a hiccup to their game one, but still a very dangerous trio that you got to keep an eye out for.
That could be something to start to, like, you know, very, very long story. Maybe a little bit short for attack here as he gets down to the storm. Got to get picked up and moved across. But lots of people start, right, in an FNCS. They have middling performances, but as the seasons go on, they end up getting better and better.
Yeah, and this trio right here actually clutched their way in. I was actually with the resubs little viewing party. We actually saw that trio clutch to get in. That's Cobra trio that we had eyes on. But to go back here to attack it, hey man, you know, sometimes you got to find a way to get in, and this team actually lands out in Camp COD, like I mentioned. And the thing that they always have to overcome is making the rotations. I mean, do you go up the river on a motorboat, dealing with that team at Caddy Corner, which is Alex? Do you try to sneak your way through that Misty Meadows Lake and maybe run into that Lazy Lake team that's always sniffing that bunker chest down below? So many decisions if you're coming out of Camp COD, and that's why we haven't really seen successes, considering that you're essentially part of a Storm Surge plan for another team that's usually in a stronger POI.
Donna Bruton again, still taking Storm. To pop medkits as they roll. Storm Surge is one of the biggest things that's kind of affected people's performances. Even the best teams in the world still struggling in a few games week to week. You guys are unfamiliar with the entire aspect. We'll explain it a few times here and there, but essentially you need to do some damage overall. You need to have a certain threshold of damage done. You can't be playing too passive, hiding in boxes, or else you take damage. That damage is lethal.
Let me give you a metaphor, since you're a king of metaphors, Shayo. It's like, if you're gonna come to the party, you better bring some plates. You gotta pay. You gotta be able to get in, man. If you're gonna show up to the party thinking you can eat all the food without contributing to the pie, you better get out. That's it. Then the storm just basically boots you out.
Pretty much, yeah. You got to basically do something on the server. Just saw Josh Keffy and Cubics there too. They're basing up completely, looking for those tags. Very important for them to do well too, in terms of, you know, all those trios that need to basically be inside the pocket, be in the bag. They're one of them. Need top 29, can't come in last place right now. Snazy XP's and Alex stopped on their way, going forward towards the storm. We know Attack Gogos and company here are actually undersurged by about 60 damage. Landed a few tags on Snazy, so it might be exactly what they need. The entire relationship we're going to be seeing right now is just people shooting at other people, getting damage down, and not fully committing. It's all just about getting numbers on the board. No one wants to just completely throw a fight or throw their whole game on committing to a box dive. It's just about having a conversation with other people's health bars.
And you're seeing that delay of this rotation coming from the Go-Go's trio. Essentially, now they get picked up by Teek's trio, who always are in that area, patrolling that Cammy split, and they're able to get a knock as well. So that scrum is happening on Storm Edge here. Now we go to another fight, and this is what happens when Storm Surge. Like I mentioned, you got Storm asking, did you bring any kind of fun activities here for the party? If not, we're gonna have to boot you, and that's what's happening right here. Seuss's trio is sitting just 172 above now. This is gonna be an interesting battle here, going up against Code trio, who has essentially been centered throughout the entire time. So if Code shots have not been hitting, they may need some valuable Storm Surge as well. As you're seeing actually in the feed, Matt's own Amplify having some issues. Oh no.
Wow. Knockdown, Thunder going through, down to Stasio, finally getting picked up by Deceptos on the south side of the map. Matzo is gone too. I'm just casting off the feed right now, but there's action all around the map. Over here as well, what an interesting situation. These are choice bases, right? People who've kind of rolled up and based up where they want to be. I'm looking at, I think, Granjo, DKS, and Shakeoz. That's exactly what they're doing. In, you know, right beside forced bases. People who are just might be rotating for Storm Surge, have to bunker up, might not have the best sight lines now. It's force versus choice. You know, those force trios aren't going to be in the best spot. They're going to be uncomfortable, going to be riled up, don't want to be there. Meanwhile, Clement's also picking up elims in the feed. This is what Surge does, Sancho. It takes people out.
I really feel like there's a lot of people rotating so late into this fight. As you're seeing, the first 5 placement points have been doled out to the top 25 trios here as Kiko and Patrick are working the feed as well. But look at this. Look at the yeah, thank you so much. Let's take a look at this. So many trios are late into the safe zone. Normally, you see people on the edge already. You're seeing some people maybe dead center, but you're taking a look. There is 3 trios close to off center, but look at Colossal Crops. So many people coming from that northeast side of the map, rotating late. If you look on the top left there at Risky Reels, Enzar's trio is kind of slowing down a lot of rotations, and already I think Benji might be solo. I mean, I'm just surprised to see those knocks happen so early.
I'm not sure if your alarms didn't go off for this zone, but at the same time, maybe people don't want to wake up and move because there's so much damage everywhere.
Benji's out. That whole trio's out. Amplify, Matzo, Benji, gone.
Too many threats looming in the distance. One of the top trios down in game 1 as well. And for Benji's trio, they're so momentous as well, right? They like having good games over and over again. And starting off the day, getting out of that early might affect the mental. Who knows? Over at the Spire, at X8, Kylix, and Kaidan all the way up top. Saw them playing a week earlier as well in Qual 2. They placed 8th. So they have the chance to get top 3 as well. Everyone's just looking kind of for that skip, right? No one wants to play in that semis. Like, if they have a chance to go to finals, it's risky. You never know who's kind of in your drops. It's a very tough situation to analyze.
It's a whole world skip, and we all are gamers here. Nothing like a good old world skip to be able to make sure you get to that final boss. And here at the end of the day, that prize isn't just a in-screen or credits. It's actually a nice bag of moolah.
You get guaranteed thrown straight into the money. One big thing about this week too, that's really cool. We talked about it a little bit on the desk, is that a lot of these guys get to like play from drop spots they never played from before, right? Because there's like what, 9 different teams qualified right now. We're looking for the top 12 going over to finals. Like, there's people able to go to Slurpee. We got people in Craggy who are usually not there. Everyone gets to feel powerful, like the best Fortnite player on the best spot in the world. So this is one of the only weeks they're going to be able to use that power. They're basically super buffed, right? You know, so you want to make sure you take that, you hold on to it like a firebender on, you know, the summer solstice. You want to use the extra flames you have to take control of the lobby and basically push yourself forward, take advantage of this, and place top 3.
And we're seeing here Code was able to take that flexibility and get himself a top 4 finish, 4th place actually in that previous round 3. Now we're going to go to a little bit another side here of the safe zone, taking a great look here. You see the main Spire out in the distance. You see Enzar's trio, who has just been slowly moving. They've been on top of the movie screen. Now they're making their way a little bit more south here. The question will be for this trio is, did they find valuable Storm Sword tags? And no, they did not. They're currently just right above, and now they're getting pushed as Enzar goes down, so that's going to be a big factor for Karma and Artox. Now they're in a full retreat, trying to get away from that push. And hey, Shayo, if you're going to Stormhold, you better not break. And if you break, you're going to be in a full retreat, and you're going to be in shambles like Karma and Artox are on the bottom right of your screen.
I need a good foundation. If you don't have one, you end up crumbling. Right now, King Karma on the bottom right of your screen is in a world of hurt and trouble. Trying to move through with Enstar. Remember, this is one of those trouble trios, I want to say, who really need to push forward and get at least top 26 or they don't qualify for the semifinals.
This trio comes out of Sweaty Sands. That's where they were landing round 3. How can they have this loadout right now? Karma with only a lethal AR and a green pump. Like, what are they going to do? That purple AR ain't going to do anything.
Time catches up with everyone. They might have peaked earlier on in the game as well, but you know, you end up playing for Surge a little bit. You make a base, you might have to be forced to move. Suddenly, you know, your team's asking for a match split. Then one person knocks on your box. By the time you realize what's going on, you're in the 4th zone. You only have a green pump and a purple AR. You're kind of down in the trenches, down horrendous, down atrocious, and that's exactly where Enstar's trio is, man. It's unfortunate, but it ends up happening.
It's not the kind of sweat you want. You don't want that sweat like, oh boy. You want that sweat like, I got this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. Put aside MXR one last year too. Everyone's I haven't seen one single comfortable spot for any team so far yet, which I like. I like watching these teams who are kind of in scuff lands.
Right.
No special discounts on just having the worst loadouts possible or the worst combinations. I really want to see how they convert this into some end game type of action.
Ooh.
Okay. Everyone kind of stuck on this side too. They're steady Cami Teak. They're fully alive doing their classic little low ground big base. I call them the submarine trio now. I know everyone loves
Subterranean.
Cammy,
Yeah.
Subterranean. They love the split, but what I love is how they actually attack mid game. They end up having this long base that no one can really penetrate. They end up just peeking out of it, shooting any single person that they see. They make everyone rotating beside them be basically in a world of hurts.
And you're seeing right now Krusty in a world of hurt, being the remaining member of that trio, trying to fight Storm Surge, just barely surviving. But now, considering he is recycling a lot of these rotational builds, he's going to be a matter of moments here. If Fire Hunter turns around here, that's going to be it for Krusty, as he just survives the Storm Surge portion here. Now he gets tagged and out, just below that other placement threshold, the top 17. As now Fire Hunter trio is moving on here. Now we're getting into the in-game situation here, where a lot of placement points will be doled out with each elimination. And then we're going to get into the real big-time opportunities for people to put a big offer, kind of like a first strike onto the leaderboard. And Kite on X8, they tend to fight for height. And here we go. We got 3 trios contesting for height, and they don't pull. What do they do from here, Shio, is the question.
Big investments from Addy and RZ God on the one side. XA Kaidon, though, on the other, kind of have a base that's a little bit more secure. As I say that, we got a nice bridge basically connecting 2 big complexes. I like it. Setting KBT kind of elevate their position off the low ground. 2 very smart. The 6 zone's about to start moving as well. The first game, and while XA tries to move, he gets peeked out on these angles. You got to be building, my man. You're down, and then your duo, or your trio's basically left as a duo. RZ God basically confirms that he has heights.
It's going to be another opportunity for a trio returning into the round 4. RZ God and Resetto, who had a decent performance there in their first setting in the set lobby here, looking to better themselves here in the opening match here of game 1 of week 3 here. So Kylix and Kaden now are going to have to go solo, and this is a still dangerous position here. You're basically second from height, and you're knowing you're already lost a member, X8. This is going to be rough. They're going to decide to give it up and go down below, and you know what happens when you go down below.
Lost members, lost shields, and lost mats. Kaidon's also just not by him at all right now. Kylix basically operating as a solo. Has to find something here on the backside of Storm's. Not going to really see much. And right now, it just looks like he's lost 2. Nowhere to go, nowhere to be or see, and your teammates aren't beside you. Meanwhile, the Siptos looks like he's a solo on second height. He has a very good loadout right now. Big AR in the inventory. A nice blue pump to hit big shots, but it's trios, my man. This is not a solo competition. You're going to have to do something big here to make it up for your team. Here's some nice shots rolling in. King Karma goes down. You see the ebb and flow, the reversal effect, Newton's second law of motion, I believe, but we'll see what the Synthos has to do past that fact. 5 elims, he's popping off, still going to the box at the head with Wolfie straight in the face, and he takes out the big AR controller gods.
Deceptos 6 limbs right now, putting on a great solo performance, making his way from the back. And when you make your way from the back, we'll take that nice cash in right then and there. But it is RZ God's trio up top, looking for a great way to get a victory royale here. But we all know it's the low ground that you'll be able to rack up a lot of points here. Kylix and Kaiden working his way as a duo. Kylix getting tripped up. That's Fredoxy there, getting that not credited to them. But RZ God looking really strong at height, considering that they're still on hard mats.
Kaiden found Kylix, then they found the zone as well at the same time. Unfortunate for them, but they got all that placement. Right now, it's all about Estrero, Artie, and then at the same, or Addy, and at the same time, RZ got all the way up top. We'll see Fredox all the way down below. Also kind of making his way right under them. Very smart, because it's very hard to kind of beam down directly on the floor you're under. While that goes down, Snooze Loose kind of moves forward as well as a solo player. Takes advantage of position, trying to play that little bit of heals just to be at maximum HP to take shots down below. He'll have to make an edit play or things are basically over.
Snooze lose another solo performance here, but the trio has actually put 6 elims total here. This is going to be a big time opportunity here to get that leaderboard stake, as I mentioned before.
Still is undertaking the steady Cammy Teak, but then he gets traded on from Magic as well. Fredox, who was moving forward with such good position, gets taken away. Cammy, though, is actually alive while Steady and Teak go down as a solo on low, but he gets dropped down by Paco. That was a huge shot right up to his dome, and now Paco has that low ground solo clutch potential in his bones.
Oh no, the zip line here is going to cause some chaos as RZ God's trio uses it. Kubix and Jatu here are the duo trying to hold on as much as possible. 38 points, looking really solid here for RZ God here, but this is going to be very difficult here. Look at them, that height, all their building is out. They're going to have to work their way down. This is always dangerous from height. They look pretty confident using their hard mats here, but now it's an opportunity that you're just got to go down there with your pumps and shotguns to try to get in there. No connections here. Kefi goes down. RZ God and Kubix looking pretty solid. AD and Rosetto get the dub and the victory royale with 10 elims. And that's the performance you're going to need, like I said, to better your best.
That's a tightrope endgame too. These guys are so high on height, controlled the whole thing, and then that tightrope snapped. We weren't expecting it. That endgame just ended in the matter of an instant. Jatu down on low ground, had it so close all the way to the very end. But man, what a game one.
That is a great game one there. And man, I got to get the guy. I'm a little out of breath. I'm going to kick it to the analyst desk to break it all down. Fellas.
Thank you guys so much. You're incredible. Okay, boys, I gotta say, this first game, very different tone than what we've seen the previous two qualifiers. It feels like things are almost moving in slow motion. All these trios really taking their time and trying to execute and make it as far in as they can. How do you guys feel about this first game?
Look, you know, you're saying these trios are playing it slow, which a lot of our big name trios are, the names that people recognize, the names of players who go well, but out there, the people who were not playing slow was AD Ristretto and RZ God, right? They were fast, they were on height super early. I noticed them early as third zone being the ones who were on high ground there too. And I've watched two of their games yesterday, both the victory royales they had in round 3, and they were super aggressive height team all the way through. So coming into round 4, they've clearly found a strategy that worked for them. Picking up the victory royale for game 1 with 10 eliminations too, huge performance to these guys.
Yeah, I think when you look at how these guys play, you can't give them an inch. And I think when you look at, you know, when Kylix, Cade and Nexé were trying to take height, you know, there was sort of that standoff there for a bit. And they were a bit exposed, right? Kylix, Cade and Nexé, they left themselves a bit exposed. And you know, these guys have shown, the AD's true, they've shown, you know, you give them an inch, they will hit the shots, they will connect. You saw they got that huge knock and it meant that they could secure height, which obviously led to them winning the game in the end. And I think the big question will be, you know, can these guys sustain that, right? The big question with height teams a lot of the time is how often can they get height? And if they can, you expect them to do well, so.
Yeah, really quick, I actually wanted to touch on something that you guys talked about at the very beginning of the show, was these early drop spots. And I was curious to see kind of what trios had contested versus uncontested drop spots. You guys want to break this down for us?
Look, we set up a ton of things in the top of show of who was going where and what was happening. And basically what we thought actually ended up happening. We saw Floki, Clement, and Deciptos moving down the Slurpy Swamp, so completely taking away from Pleasant. And you know, that game we did see Deciptos alone as a solo in the end game. So this first game, them moving, right, switching their drop spots, potentially not playing out too well for them. And again, something else. Benji, Mato Amplify, uncontested. You think this would be beautiful, but their normal strategy is to go north up to stealthy, but they didn't do that this game. They instead actually took a fight with our game winners because they were low on Storm Surge, and well, you can see who won that fight.
Yeah, things didn't go well for them there. Taking a look at Dirty Dots, we talked about how Wolfie, Slender, and Void were going to have sort of a big day, right? Obviously not landing at the conventional POI. They did sort of last relatively long in the game. I think they sort of do have the sort of mid-game pathing figured out, but ultimately it wasn't a performance to, you know, cheer for by any means. So we'll see what they can sort of come up with moving forward. Taking a look though at the standings, no surprise that RZ God, Rosetto, and AD are sitting there in first place with that victory out. A big start for them, and I think, you know, that's the confidence they need. They're not necessarily an established trio within the region, but in what they have shown, you know, they have the potential to be up there, and I think this is going to be huge for their confidence. The likes of Wolfie, Freemock, and Default sitting in second, Cammy, Seti, and Teak, who we saw sort of in that last stretch of the game as well, doing well. All around, you know, some solid names up here that I think are some of the strongest teams in the lobby.
Look, Scammy and Teague started last week with a third as well, so they're mirroring. So my predictions are correct. They're going to win game 2, just like they did last week, and move on up. But hopefully they've learned from the mistakes and keep them going. And, you know, with the team in second of Wolfie, Freemock, and 97 Default, like, these guys are all insane, right? But these guys are typically a high ground team as well. They just, you know, we have a lot of teams in the lobby who are just looking up, but without doing that, this team, they still managed to get 10 eliminations, and they are a scary team to fight. And this is their first round 4. So, you know, this is kind of new ground for these guys this season as this established trio. They've been doing really well outside of that. If you've ever watched a viewing party, then you'll have seen these guys, because Freemock streams it all, and his POV is certainly something to watch from.
Yeah, I think the big thing for a lot of these sort of teams that will look to try and play high ground is, you know, ultimately AD's trio, they're a team that will, you know, commit a load of materials to secure height, right? They're willing to commit a lot more materials than other trios would typically, and that's why you see teams like the likes of a Kylix's trio, right, where they'll say, is this really worth? All right, let's just sort of play mid ground, see how the game goes from there. But you know, if you're gonna be able to commit as much match to height as they will, then there's a chance you can take it. If not, they will just continue to take it. And I think that's going to be a key factor to how these games sort of play out.
Yeah, what I was going to say is quickly, actually, that you nailed on a team that also just goes straight for height as Caden's team, right? We saw last week exactly that. The first 2 games, they just went for every single game. So originally we have 3 teams who their main strategy for surviving is just go height, height, height. So in these next few games, I'm sure this exact same thing is going to keep happening. And this is why you said it's not going to be so consistent, right? So many of these teams are just focusing on it because they know they're going to be able to get that victory royale coming out of it if they manage to maintain it.
And how many of those trios are thinking, if we give that other trio height, this could spell disaster for us. This could shut us down. We can't earn these points, right? This is an all-out war right now, but it is time to get back into the action. It's game number 2 of qualifier number 3. Sancho, Shire Wager, going back your way.
I'm liking the aggression and control I'm seeing today. I want to dub the term egg roll, maybe? Egg roll? I'm not sure, Sancho, but this week of quals is looking really good.
It's looking really fire. That's what I'm going to say right then and there. This is the kind of intensity. This is the kind of action that we look for. And what's interesting as well that I am looking for is the big names on top of the board. And the only big names that I've seen that we've kind of highlighted is Seti, Kemi, and Teak sitting in the top 3. So where are these other guys? And this is just where they might slip a little bit early here, as we've seen that they are contested heavily there in caddy corners. And now we're going to go to some other big names in the region. Now we go back actually to get a nice knock here. And the trio right there, Jokesy, that's one of those trios that they're very dangerous. They're a good fighting trio, but we all know when it comes to caddy corners, those 50-50 drops, especially here on the main building on the strong side of caddy corner, and it doesn't matter how good you are. If you don't have a weapon to fight, you're going to be eliminated quickly, as Cobra is going to have to be on the full retreat.
It's all about the drop. It's all about the glide, and X-Squeeze, Snazy, and Andalex kind of learned a big lesson last week that if you go for the gas station, if you go for this side where we're looking at right now, you basically end up on the, I don't know, secondary powerhouse spot of the drop. You need to contest the big factory up north. You need to be there, get the weapons, just have a better drop, and hardcore 50-50. It's the only way really to, you know, get control of the POI and really put things down.
What I also see is the Elim feed is kind of lighting up much more aggressively here. This time around, you're talking about the egg roll, not quite sure what you were trying to say right there. I'm trying to pick up your vibe. The intensity is picking up here. I know this is technically the first week of the wild week. And I'm thinking right now, Deceptos definitely had a wild finish. We can't remember Deceptos is actually a great solo player. Finished 2nd place in the FNCS in the solos, so no wonder he was able to pop off in such a valuable performance here. As you say, when he got eliminated, hey, we'll take it. We'll take those points, because those are the kind of points we're definitely going to need. As you're seeing that Floki, Clement, Deceptos do have the Slurp Factory all to themselves. And now we're going into another battle here at that Hydro 16 dam. Sasio already saw him get a little bit of a kind of an issue here in the spot. Now getting eliminated a little bit early here by Astray.
I think the fact that Floki's all the way at Slurpee and has so much control there, Misty and Caddy kind of controlled by big teams too. Everyone over at Hydro and this big bridge are basically just running into each other over and over again. Pinballing, basically not in control because of what's going around them, right? Because of all the paddles that are side by side, they keep flicking back and forth. We'll see Axie, Stasio in fights over and over again, I think, over this entire day. Okay, some of the most random teams you might not even expect. Heaven here about to drop down on a Paxian as well. Him and Stinks might land big shots to stay inside this game.
Oh no!
Mix 2, Patrick's getting ganked right from the shadows. Oh, so unfortunate. Stinks goes for a big shot, gets 2 popped in the sky. He gets full Elim too, but the ground is burning. Patrick's is taking a lot of damage, and Paxian might be able to just peek here to the left and maybe take out a shot. No, he hides. Could get those reboot cards back and go right back to the game. That's his plan. Yep, that's exactly what he's gonna do.
Man, I know there was a scary game that just released, but Fortnite definitely has its jump scares in it as well. There's nothing like your full focus on a box fight, your full focus, and all of a sudden that Raptor comes in, those Talons here, and Pax still has to deal with it here. As the Raptor is chasing on the backside here, and now he has a full trio here, Snooze's trio here pushing in, and Paxton's got to retreat again here. And Tukes, Devin, and Snooze are not going to give this up as much as possible here as well. Taking a look, just make it into that top 25 threshold and only picking up 1 point here. So that's what Pax is dealing with here. on the full retreat. As you see in the feed, Pizza picking up a knock on Etsy and the confirmation here. Lazy Lake, Shio, has been popping off. I've been seeing in the feed that early on, a lot of knocks and confirmations going both ways. You have Bad Snipers trio up there, so got to keep an eye on that going forward, is considering that last time the winner of the entire qualifier round came out of Lazy Lake, and it was triple contested there from Flows' trio, was able to walk away with that one.
That also came off the back of lots of cool end games, but man, I just want to see people give Paxton a break. This is just game 2.
Come on now. Come on.
Getting bullied by 2 teams.
Come
man
on.
Doesn't have a home. He's in the streets. Hydro 16, Sancho. The streets.
We've all been right here, and this is where I was talking about that Lazy Lake action. Pizza, Ardent, and Marvin here, and Bad Sniper on a knockdown state. It's what's so interesting here. Pizza, Ardent coming from Misty Meadows here last season when they were playing with Artox. Now they're coming here with a new trio mate. Now we're going down to the Spire, which has actually been the home for Shay, Gray, and DKS. They had a decent showing when they made it here in the round 4 last time. Remember, Shio, they were in the top 3 for the longest time, and then they slipped out of that top 3, as we've been seeing that EU has a big comeback factor in those last frame of games, and Nako has a great dominant position down below against this trio.
Through early game antics, they're kind of low on ammunition as well. It should be fine for the boys over at the Spire. It's gonna be one of those colossal Coliseum fights from last season where people just end up basing up down below, don't really move.
Yeah.
And then imaginary walls around them, I guess this time. Nothing ends up happening.
That's the danger about Lazy Lake. There's so many basements. There's so many like rooms that they could chill in. There's like, it's just one of those fights that kind of reminds me of Tilted Towers of lore, that you're just going to be long and drawn out. So if you land here in Lazy Lake, I think that's why, if you're contested, you have an opportunity to kind of survive here. Now the action's picking up all over the map. Just taking a look here as Shakos is going to take out that Fort Guardian Tower. This is doing Raz actually just doing his best to hold his ground on that top right of your POV. But taking a look at the overall storm circle here, Shio, you see a couple of teams here dead center. You're seeing a lot of teams on the outside, as I think that team up there in that pink, out there in I think it's Raptors Island. That's what they like to do. They're looking very far. I'm trying to think, because there's so many, like 3 or 4 different trios have done this rotation here. That's why I've been so interested in this week, is that there's a lot of trios that do these scavenger routes, and they all have to figure out where to go.
It's kind of tough to pick and choose, especially because, you know, depending on where the zone is going, you have to change your entire game plan. So that's what's happening for a lot of people. In terms of central POIs, you don't have to actually change your plan at all. You get to end up fighting a bit more. That's what the Chaycos, DKS, and Grandeur are doing, and they're going to push all the way up top on the Spire, go for a better position.
Yeah, like a trio like Tryharder's trio has known to go out there, and so many other trios. I find some value at that West Coast, considering that there isn't a strong Holly Hedges team or a strong Sody Sands team. I would say that's definitely a scavenger route that's been buffed here in this week. Now we're on board here with Magic. Hey, this is his first shot. His first sighting of that infantry rifle. Oh,
let's go.
Such a good sound, dude. It's such a good sound
Nostalgic.
in video game history. It's very nostalgic.
Yeah, I'm remembering volcanoes. I'm remembering, you know, taco time.
Yes.
So yeah, a lot of good in the history of Fortnite so far, in terms of the times when the infantry rifle was kind of, you know, alive and doing well. Meanwhile, as he goes for shots, he'll end a few on a few cars. Granger actually taking big damage up in the Spire. This man is like miles in the sky, rocket ship status, and still getting beamed. Just showing you the caliber of players who are playing today. Every single little mistake at this point is getting still big punished.
No doubt. I mean, just thinking about of the infantry rifle, I mean, I'm thinking of Mongrel's beams, really nasty beams with the infantry. Even Ninja's beams, if you want to talk about someone in there in NA side. I remember when they made the announcements of the return of the infantry rifle, Reverse 2K added Ninja, was like, hey, comeback season maybe? And Ninja had responded with that eyes emoji, but it's just showing you how popular and nostalgic, as Shia pointed out, the infantry rifle is. Let's go back into this action here. As you're hearing the infantry rifle, more trios are kind of set on edge, as I mentioned in the game before. Inzars, Artox, and Karma, though, remember we saw them in the game 1, couldn't get valuable storm tags. But maybe this time around that infantry rifle is hitting true, looking good, or maybe they've been getting some valuable bow hits. that is the equation they have to solve here, considering in the previous match, they did not do so hot, and they end up losing 2 members, basically around zone 4.
I think for the early game, it's all about time travel. And that sounds kind of weird because, you know, from what I see in the loot pool, it doesn't really exist in Fortnite. It's not about the items, it's just about how you end up managing the time you kind of have. So before we saw Ensar, Artox, and King Karma kind of not really navigate time too well. They ended up not really making the best decisions at the crucial moments, and were forced to do certain things in the time stream they might not wanted to do, stuck between 2 different trios, being in forced spaces as well. This time though, it looks like they know exactly where they want to be. Ensar looks a little bit more free, rolling around on open spaces, looking for tags on cars in the storm. He'll be able to actually navigate time properly as he moves towards the next portion of the game.
And a trio trying to navigate that time, as we saw in that POV, was Benji's trio. Benji is sitting out there on the cliffside as we're going back to them. This is a very popular Storm Surge tag place here, and they've been making late rotations. So we've been seeing the Storm Surge plan is to pick on people coming from Stealthy Stronghold, and that is MXR's trio. Yes, coming from Stealthy Stronghold here, but they do have a height advantage on Amplified Benjo Matzo. They have no points so far in this match here, Shio. So they're looking for this opportunity. You can't go 2 games with 0 points here in round 4.
You can't also just randomly end up going all in too. We know Benji's strats. It's not always going to be from, you know, some type of forced mid-game fight all the way on the northwest side of zone where you're not supposed to be. Let's move over Benji and get towards the next portion of your game. It might not be possible. They might be locked all in. They might have called already. As, you know, the hand comes towards them right now in terms of Amplify Matsu and Benji. It's always this type of moment where mistakes end up going down or a different team ends up forcing Destiny onto them, but Destiny will not arrive this time. They'll end up moving out. No mid-game fight to lose. We will possibly and hopefully see them in endgame. Granted, they have all the damage that they need. King Karma, Enstar, and Artox are looking so good right now. I feel something with this trio this game. They just are at the best spaces, even though there's so many different trios around them. You know, highly elevated right now. Enstar can still pinpoint exactly where he wants to shoot. Picking apart Kira's trio right now, or just looking to. They have a new sense of confidence around them.
That's the confidence of Sweaty Sands. I mean, that's going to be that power buff that you're going to definitely need to find. And you're just seeing here, they're going to try to pressure Kira's trio, who Kira traditionally lands at Lazy Lake. So they are kind of pushed out here, and this is where you don't want to be if you're Kira's trio. You want to be in Lazy Lake already waiting for this trio of Enzar to make this rotation here. So it's a very dead side rotation from Enzar here, trying to find teams that are struggling with their own rotations here. And as you see, Artox here is going to have to tank a little bit of Storm, but I think you're right, Shio. I almost predicted this team to do well, considering that they had Sweaty Sands uncontested.
Proxy Quest, Relevant, so many other trios, so many other stories, characters, basically, and not even the middle of the entire narration right now, who are trying to find their footing inside, I would say, a painting that's missing puzzle pieces, right? This is kind of the same story that I want to hit on here real quick before Marine gets beamed. Oh my God, it's a big beam, actually. Forget the story, look at the action. This is huge from Relvis. What a call. And, you know, there's no time to react when there's 3 people beaming your walls from such close range. Marine goes down. Relvis looking for the next opportunity here. He finally gets the full Elim too. They know they have a 3v2 and they have a pinch on position as well. This is huge if they want to capitalize, but as this is going down, Krusty, you see on the bottom left of your screen, takes a lot of damage. It's a trade that isn't hugely favored for Relvis, Krusty, and Proxim, but they're still ahead. So they can back up now, get the big heals. They have huge surge tags, an extra loot pile entirely to operate from, and dope position around all these different trios who are based up around them.
And you're seeing our game 1 winner of 80 out in the distance, just coming in late in the feed. Amplify getting confirmed, eliminated. The struggles are still there for Benji's trio. We'll definitely keep an eye and see how many of them are left here. But look at it right now. This is, you mentioned, this is tough. Look at the pool of the zone, Shio. Yeah, you may be in a great position here to leave. You know, it's like a race. You see the starting line right now, and the finish line is the safe zone. The question is, who is going to be able to disengage cleanly? And that is RZ God's trio, making the clean disengage, considering that they're not in part of the scrum that's happening here between Code's trio and Relvis' trio. Malibu Cub, that coming into the #1 spot from round 3, is here as well. But if you take a look at that mini map, folks, so many trios here are going to make this rotation, and you're going to see a lot of action when it gets to the safe zone.
And just take note of this one little fact here as well. This cool kind of foreshadowing from the hardest spot on the map right now, which is this side. Sancho was mentioning the north. It was Addy, Ristretto, and RZ God that moved first. The most proactive trio out of everyone we're watching right now on this side of the map. They're going to be rolling in to see where they can find their spots in zone. They had such a good game number 1, and so far are looking like leaders of Qualifier 3 coming to game number 2.
And they kind of touched it on the analyst desk at Resub. You know, their victory royales in the previous round had double-digit elims. So considering that they were able to put 10 elims on the board, and the victory royales code just does not get away from Malibuka, Shizo, and Mayhem. And this is where we're talking about the rotational neighbors here, all moving all together. This caravan is not a friendly caravan. It's all not about honking horns and being all excited to get to that finish line. This is a deadly cannonball type of caravan where shots will be exchanged, as you see Matzo getting knocked in the feed. So that means Benji's all alone here, as you see MXR having some issues in the feed.
I don't even think this is like a caravan type beat, not a circus show. These guys are criminals, Sancho. They're kidnapping one member from every single trio and saying, yeah, you're not going to be able to play this end game. Go back to the lobby. That's 2 different trios now they're taking one person away from, and that's Ristretto, the person who's a teammate of RZ God and 80. So they're not going to be able to have that full power there. I was talking about foreshadowing. I guess we were looking at the wrong end of the coin. Right now, Krusty, though, getting a true sense of justice. There is a clapback on their strat of moving beside team after team. You end up in trouble if you don't find the correct way to look to defend the right beam. So now Relvis is left alone with Proxton. He's low on HP too. They're not even in the zone yet, and it's still moving.
And who is sending these beams down? It is Wolfie's trio coming from Dirty Docks. This is a cliffside storm surge plan that always works well for the Dirty Docks team. They have a high dominant position, and they're using the storm here to create a lot of pressure for these late rotation. So you will see, no matter the region, Dirty Docks, and even the, you know, here in the EU, they always move up there. Flick and Nos and Thomas love those cliffside, that mountain range essentially. They get some big valuable storm side and some easy elims coming their way. Let's take a look at the rest of the field here as you see Snag and Steelix and Paco coming from their risky real split drop, having some problems on their rotation as well. We did see Paco in the in-game. This is one of those decorated teams that Steelix and Snag did pretty decently, making it to the heat stage with Heatsy last season. So this is a newly formed trio trying to find success here in round 4. Remember, top 3 folks gets all the way into the finals. That's basically guaranteed thousands of dollars here on the line here, as Relvis and Proxton get kind of just barrel stuff here by Wolfies. They just decided to come off there and then push on through there, Shy. Oh boy, Slender Wolfies with some 3 elims right then and there.
Identifying when a trio is weak, especially when they have a man down, it's a huge decision to kind of go all in and pick up the elims. Wolfie's very good job at doing that right there. Ensar, meanwhile, without Art Talks, him and King Karma will also try to move all the way through. We're gonna be looking at the storm circle right now. There's so many people on the south side of the zone who haven't actually moved in just yet. They're gonna be having a lot of trouble climbing each other's or over each other's bodies and boxes. It's gonna be so difficult to find a base at a point of control. You'll be forced to just base up somewhere. You might not have the best sight lines, but you'll have to make do with what you have.
If Zone 5 pulls towards Wolfie's trio, if you see him on the top right of that circle, they're going to have a lot of mats to expend to kind of play for height and natural terrain to build off of. So keep an eye on Zone 5. We all know if you pull Zone 5 statistically, if you take height, you'll be able to walk away with the victory royale. So the stats don't lie. I believe it's about 60 to 80%, just around that range of a victory royales. But when you get height, you can win the victory royale, but you need to rack up some elims as well.
For the majority of people who are still waiting for the zone to close, we're going to be tuning in with the point of chaos right now. No one knows what's going to happen right here. Wolfies will not get zoned. It looks like it'll be Snag who actually picks it up on the top left side of the map. Meanwhile, the majority of the lobby, who's basically in pseudo shambles, scratched up, bruised, missing a member or 2. We saw so many go down before. Also in flames. Got to be careful. It's Fire Week right now, so you're going to be seeing a lot of damage from these flames down below, and they're going to be spreading even further too. It's going to be so dangerous to rotate.
It spreads faster and does 15 damage total. And when your builds are engulfed in flames, and even the ground below can cause some danger here. Now we go on board to Fremont Default and Wolfie here with a great start to the day. Just look at that, Shio. 48 points here. And this is going to be a really nice rotation here from Wolfie here. Fremont, of course, an old school name from the EU region here, making a debut here in round 4. Looking really solid. I like this. No eyes on them. Looking really good. Looking really solid. Not a lot of hard mats expense, and they were able to build on top of Tryharder's trio here. Question is, they're just not in yet. They're gonna have to move a little bit farther. Just keep tarping. Just keep tarping to get into that safe zone.
And right now, we're going to basically change the aspect ratio down to 4:3. Usually, it's such a widespread, you know, kind of zone in terms of bases. So many people have their own space. We have 3 different apartment complexes to look at in terms of big bases that have so many trios housed within them. Right now, it just looks like an amalgamation of 2 different bases, one that has a huge amount of people who haven't even moved in just yet. Steelix and Snagdo had such a good spot on the top side of the map, are taken out by Wolfies as well, who rotated from the top right, so they still have a dominating position. And with the man down, RC God and AD still have height and are basically puffing their chest out. No one knows that they're actually down a man up top. They still have control.
Yeah, you can puff your chest all you want, but as soon as Cammy sees that, they're going to go ahead and take that. Cammy's trio is very dangerous considering they're second from height. Let's take a look at the overall portion of the map here. Looks like Wolfie's Fremont Default did pull zone here, zone 6. It's going to go down south and cross a river. Now, the whole goal, if you've never been in this competitive scene, is to be on the front side of Storm. But it's kind of evolved here as over time here. Not only that, but you could cut off people, but hey, look at hello. X-Squeeze and Snazy and Andalix says not so fast. We have hype, and Cammy's trio literally took off. They're not even in the frame anymore. You're talking about 4:3 aspect ratio, 16:9. He's not gonna be able to see that trio at all.
Yeah, there's no chance that anyone's gonna be able to stop them all the way on low ground, but I was about to wonder, you know, when zone 6 stops back and there's no definitive height team, it's very tricky to see who has the best spot. As Putric lands big beams, we'll see that Andalex's trio is actually the one on height, but they get completely shambled down. Fast Roki's up there taking big shots. Now Ardent's the one all the way up on height. Andalex left over as a solo player. X-Squeeze eliminated and basically converted into just mats and ammo for Fast Roki to pick up. We'll see big changes happen at the 6th zone.
Last season, when Analex's trio got high, it took a while for them to lose it, and you're just seeing how their strength is not as strong this season. But let's go back to the old school, and that's Fremont right now with the purple pump, trying to do his best and holding on against Putric trio here, knocking on that front door. He does have some pepper, so mobility will be an option, but take a look at the mats, folks. Completely out of mats. He's gonna have to rely on his tarper here to hold on. But I think this team right now is in shambles, as some Storm Surge teams are in shambles as well. And look at that, Fast Roki and Ardent, I think they're holding this down as a duo as well.
Purple lightning strikes down. It looks nice, but hurts so hard, and Andalex is gonna be one of them to actually end up suffering the fate from the skies above. Big box by Seti though. This man is clean. Bring the detergent, bring the mops, bring everything to aisle 3, because this man just boxed up a fish and there's leftovers down below on the ground. Wolfies is there with Void down below. Slender also walking by towards the front side of zone. Seti will operate with Teak and Cammy on the front side of his tarp as well. Cupix going down, Pace getting eliminated. Cammy is operating. Fremont is live. Everyone right now is operating on 6th gear, and it's just the 7th zone.
Here we go. Seti, Teak, and Cammy here, who were picked by Levin to do so well into this match here. And as well as Riso, the analyst boys put all their chips down on the table here for Seti, Teak, and Cammy, considering that they have been doing so consistent here in round 4. And look at him, Seti, going all the way through. Pickaxing his way through all the brick.
And all they need to do right now, the stakes for this is just get the top 5, get max placement. Everyone in this lobby is looking for consistent games. It's not just about winning right now, but having a good pace. So top 5 is what everyone's aiming for. Steady affected down below though. Teak gets knocked down. Andalex taken out by Wolfies. The Symptos is the one to affect that conversation. Fremont is diving in. Goodbye, Jochico. Jochico right back to sleep. Make sure you have some games. Another big pop off from Fremont. Try harder goes down.
Fremont turning back the hands of time with 5 elims, and he is cooking, baby, on the low ground. Oh my goodness, now he's going up against the big favorites right here. Seti! And he catches Teak on the backside. Did he get Seti as well? Oh, he did. Oh my goodness, Fremont, let's go.
This man is absolutely free and sky high. He's building up, has all the mats, has the power and the momentum beside him. 7 eliminations. All right, someone's got to stop, and it'll be Arden all the way from high ground that says, okay, relax, my man. Take the 7, find your way home. It's our time now to control hype, but he's affected so many different duos, trios, solos out in the lobby.
And he put his team in a great position. Now, Wolfie's now solo here. 11 elims. Look at the amount of points they have put in. A huge game here from the Wolfie trio, led by Fremont, Arden, and Vasroki, coming from the high ground, trying to close out. X8 down below. Look, this is going to be one of those zones that's getting buried by the terrain. Can Void kind of get up here? Void is pressured from Vasroki and Wolfie down below. And yeah, bring out the shovels, baby. Vasroki and Arden are burying in this lobby.
Very much well-needed siphon there too. 2 final teams left, but it's Thunder who's left all the way inside the zone. Position from Vasroki. The big wall won't matter. They retake height from one of the most prestigious teams we've seen. Survive the onslaught of Fremont and then end up winning the game.
Fremont, man. Wow, you were all talking about time travel during that match, man. They came in from that big old time machine. I mean, goodness gracious, Fremont popped off, but great round from Vasroki there, considering that's a newly formed trio here in this season.
Now, from drops of mid-game to that colossal showing of an end game, the Deaths must have a lot to say. So, Zeke, Levin, Reese, what you guys got?
Okay, I thought this was a competition. Apparently, Fremont is like, hey, we're box fighting, right? We're playing box fight right now, where I'm just gonna go around and just dome everybody. Listen, I swear in my mind, I was like, oh, this is going to go a certain way. Like, this is all going to unfold. And Fremont was like, no, Zeke, have you seen Fortnite? Do you even know who I am? Just hold on. Let me just disrupt everything everyone else is doing. Now, I got to say, congrats to Arden's trio, 11 elimination victory royale. But when you've got Fremont on the mid ground just blowing everybody up, you're like, no, we'll sit on high ground. You do your thing, man. Go for it.
I mean, it's a shame to say. I feel like for Strokey's team, purely because the perspective we're watching on Fremont completely popping off has been undershadowed. Like, I know they got more points, right? I know they placed better, they got more eliminations, but Fremont, from his POV, I said it, I think between the last games, he is an absolute spectacle to watch. And that, like, he was just edit coursing people in the early mid game. It was beautiful.
Yeah, like, I think this is what it's all about, right? Seeing an individual performance like that is just so impressive. It's genuinely is a spectacle. You can see, Sanchez out of breath, man. Like, it's a crazy moment. Like, it is genuinely so exciting. And I think, that's what you expect out of Fremont. That's the reality. If you watch Fremont, if you pay attention to streams and whatnot, him playing in different competitions, that is what he does. And so it's not a surprise to see him do that. Like Zeke says, we do have to give props. We got to give our flowers to the team that did actually win it, right? For Strokey's trio did a great job, and they were able to sort of secure height in first move, and then from there it was sort of a standard sort of win for them. But if this is what the rest of the games are going to look like, I'm going to be out of breath very soon. It's going to get crazy.
It was very different, especially like I really thought Restretto's team after the victory royale in game 1 was going to come out swinging. But Restretto fell super early in this game, and that kind of shook this team to their core, Reese.
Yeah, last game in game 1, what we saw from them was a very, very clinical use of high ground retakes, right? You'll see this from game 1. They're just making their rotate to 5th. They're relatively close to where 5th zone was. And look, there's no one established here on high ground at all. We saw Fremont's team relatively close, which is default there. And they just claim up, build it. This is exactly the same thing they did in game 2 as well. So what we're watching is exactly the same. But remember, the difference between game 1 and game 2 is that Restretto ended up going down early in that kind of mid-game while they were rotating. So the games completely mirrored each other. They had height in that 5th zone, and they were in a really, really good spot, exactly like they are right now. However, remember, because they went down earlier, this did not happen. The big victory royale did not happen in game 2 because Restretto went down early. As soon as that first zone went to move, they didn't have the coverage, and that was it over.
If you take a look at your leaderboards, Wolfie, Fremont, default, sitting in first place after their 5th place in game 1. That performance added on top of it is pushed them into first place. And what a game that was. Seti, Kami, and Teak, we saw them go, practically the full stretch again in that game as well. So, big performances out of these two teams. For Strokey, Pizza, and Ardit did eventually come through. That victory has put them in 3rd place. So, things are starting to shape up. It looks like the teams in 1st and 2nd at the moment are sort of big players today so far. Can they sort of keep up this level will be the next big question.
Yeah, 11. I feel like we say this every week, but game 2's only happened, so the leaderboards are shaping up, as you say, but they're absolutely nowhere near solidified at this point because 4 more games, right? We're only a third of the way through the matches. They can completely change up at this point, but again, some teams that we weren't really necessarily hyping up too much today. We've been talking good about these teams. Sammy, Cammy, Saiti, we've been talking good about them, but we've not really said much about Fremont before the game started, and they're really starting to take away with it a little bit.
Yeah, they've showed, that they are going to be a force to, be reckoned with. I think if we see these names now in end games, you're going to be expecting them to sort of have these type of games, and rightfully so. The mechanics there. I think we always talk about mechanics in different areas of the game, whether that be creative earlier in the game and build fights, but the box fighting mechanics that go into great end game performances like what Fremont showed there. That's a masterclass. That is a masterclass in mechanical play there. So just great stuff all around from these guys so far.
And just to echo what Reese said, this is only game 2, right? We have another 4 games ahead of us. Anything can still happen, Fortnite fam, but it is just about that time. The battle bus is warmed up. Find your seats because it is time to go into the next game of the FNCS. Strap in. We're kicking it back over to our casters. Let's go, boys. Game number 3.
You know what, Sancho? I like music a lot, right? Those one-hit wonders, the Endgame 7 Elam pop-offs are fun to listen on drives or, chill with in the summer. Albums, though, that 6-game consistency, those are a dime a dozen, tough to come by. And now for game 3, that's what these guys are working for.
No doubt. And you know what's awesome is seeing like an artist that's beloved make a comeback, release an album and all of a sudden they're a top charter, and that was what we had a taste of when we saw Fremont had a big explosion. Now Fasroki kind of in the same boat, one of the guys that's been around the EU region for a very long time. As I mentioned, Ardit and Pizza, who played previous seasons with Artox, this is where they go. They went to Misty Meadows, and Fasroki played with Kylix and Dietrich. They didn't really find any success last season, kind of ending in the heat stages. So if Fasroki, Pizza, and Ardent could kind of bypass that, that would be huge, considering this is a newly formed trio, and there's a little bit of that here. A lot of scatters of newly formed trios trying to find success, and Fasroki and Ardit, they kind of did it together as a duo.
I still see the light through the blinds, right, for this trio. That height retake last game was clinical, surgical, so accurate, and so done at the best time. I feel like they just need to open up that window completely, go for these big moments, somewhat maybe even in the mid game, look for opportunities to clasp down on trios. Always Fasroki who's finding ways to just punish people for being a little bit too far up. Things you might not even think of that you're doing wrong. He already knows you're going to do it in the future and exploits it. So that was really cool to watch. It's just kind of nuts. We're watching Floki at Slurpy Swamp right now. We were watching a lot of different trios run up at Craggy as well. You can see the stat on screen. That POI is so huge, the way you rotate from it, from getting you a VR. The people that end up playing from that POI too are so centered around winning. The very passive type drop. It's no stranger or no confusing detail to see that your drop kind of signifies how you end up playing the game too.
You're talking about the ultimate victory royale is our defending EU champions, Hen, Janice, and Chapix, coming from Craggy Cliffs. So now we're going to go back to this battle here at the Slurpy Swamp here. Clement, Floki, Deceptos, switching their drop spot, looking for an opportunity to get some valuable Storm Surge tags and the elimination points from Cash Jow. But this is a fighting trio that is not really easy to break. And I've been seeing this kind of offensive stance against a team that's hiding in these buildings, and they got to find the angles. And Floki gets boxed out by Kalja. These are big fighters. They're not afraid of a fight, and they're taking this when they trade. Kashi goes down, Floki goes down, but Incineroar goes down, and Clement and Deceptos are able to come out on top, just using a couple of knocks down. And Clement, Deceptos, Floki continue on. And we always mention this. Yeah, they're going to get in semi. They're going to get in with the points. I get that. But you want to get in the top 3. That's why I really believe top 3 or nothing. I don't really believe these EU trios want to go through the semifinals. That's top 6. Top 6 is going to be still difficult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Top 3 into the finals, guaranteed money. That's the kind of ride you got. You don't want to go on. You want to go on the premium luxury ride. You don't want to call a call service and you get that shared ride where you have, they pick up a stranger and you're like, oh man, I don't want this group ride. I wish I was solo on this kind of pickup,
No, it's like we talked about it before, right? Right now, there's some people at super powerful spots. So Stretto is not going to be able to have Craggy any other week too. So he's going to be looking to just make the most out of it. 4th place currently right now. And we're talking about, you know, one-hit wonders versus big albums dropping. You were saying that, you know, Free Mock is kind of like that nice album to listen to. I feel like they're one-hit wonders right now. I don't think they have that album.
No,
that's one big game with the 7 elims.
What I meant is he's an old school name coming back. He's that artist, you know, remixing it up.
But it's a comeback single. I feel like he dropped a nice Free Mock remix. I want to see, like, you know, how today looks in the 6 games, because Sancho, we watch it every weekend, right? Like, I get hyped for the guys who are doing really well games 1 and 2. Some games 5 and 6, it's a completely different sport we're watching. It's like they retired. Like, where did they go?
Let me support what you're saying here with stats. I mean, because, you know, sometimes they always say numbers don't lie, right? We're talking about the last round. They had 6 games with only 4 points total. So they could get hot and they could get cold, and their cold is close to freezing. And you come in with 6 games with 4 points total, that's not easy. But remember, they popped off as well. We saw them pop off. They had a victory royale with 12 elims. They had another victory royale with 11 elims. So those are the pop-off factor there. But I think you're right. You cannot be a one-hit wonder here in the round 4. You're going to have to put in a string of hits. Considering the name that's coming in, try to put a string of hits. Benji's coming into Craggy Cliffs to look for some action here as well. RZ God, Resurrecto, AD now have to deal with a very dangerous EU trio who are hungry, and they are not necessarily desperate just yet, but they know they could do better. And look at that. Already a knock has gone down AD's way. Amplify picking that one up.
And here is one of the things in terms of learning up new spots or trying to switch up the way you play the game.
Good point.
You don't understand, you know, the relationships of different POIs and how they roll through. Defense is so hard on spots you're not really comfortable with. And Benji, Amplify, Matzo, they're at home right now, Sancho. They're on home game.
So normally their rotation kind of stops right there at the cliffs, right below the blue bridge. And this time they most likely went to the VOD, decided, you know what, instead of stopping at the cliffside, let's just go all the way into Craggy Cliffs. We can beat RZ God's trio. We could get some eliminations, and more importantly for their plan, get those Storm Surge tags, because we've been watching this entire qualifying round, no matter what the week that they're in, every time they have issues on their rotations because they take fights looking for Storm Surge tags.
I mean, the big thing as well is that I find this fight to be very classy. Amplify, Matzo, and Benji. Usually, we're in, like, you know, the trashy type zone. It's like a game 6 push. Okay.
Okay.
It's a big boom. And now there's fire. I think it's any fire also that ends up getting wild in this week. It is expanding so fast, and people have wooden builds. Pizza is getting overcooked right now, and Artist's right beside him. Fast Roki's not going to be near them, but in a position to pinch. And yeah, he set records in the past, but if you can't get past mid-game at this moment, Fast Roki will not have a chance to do it again. What a big, quick scope AR shot right there. I'm not sure if that was on an AI or a player, but it looks so good. Using cover so well back and forth too. You'll notice every time he wants to reload or reposition and aim, he'll go behind this wall really quickly and then dive in and look for shots. He's not waiting or exposing himself at all to any unnecessary fire. And even rolling down these metal walls, Devin is in big trouble and can't get the heals off in time.
And he understands that the other trio is doing all that they can, using all the resources of the match. Look at that, down to brick, now down to metal. And they're using the advantage of the other team. Oh, Peak a little bit too greedy right there and gets returned to sender beams going his way. They may be an opportunity for the other trio to push out, but I just think the pressure up from the cliffside here on the north side, just above here from the yellow arrows, might come in. But actually, Pizza gets tagged from the backside. And what looked like an easy fight, as you mentioned, you need to survive to get out of the mid game. Now, Basroki, Pizza, and Ardent coming from Misty Metals may be an issue here, trouble from teams making a dead side rotation down from the Hydro 16 area.
The edge zone is a fine place to kind of fight when you're just kind of, you know, rolling around and zone hasn't closed in yet. At the end of the day, though, when it starts to get close, new teams come by.
Shout outs to Kyle, the character, holding strong, baby. Let's go, Kyle.
Oh, no, getting in the fight there, too. Stinks near the back, I think. Pizza and Ardent are kind of going a little bit further back, or at least Pizza is to refarm, but he'll be able to scout out and see exactly where people are as well. They have so much AR to work with. They can get into so many different conversations with other trios. So many discussions of the AR variety. But they'll have to stop at some point because zone locks in. There's not many people in there right now. The right side is completely empty as everyone kind of moves around looking for fights, tags, and surge. South side looks like there's gonna be a traffic jam happening very, very soon.
This is the tale of two kind of situations. On the top right of your screen is DKS's trio, just chilling right there next to the gas station, looking for anyone rotating through. And now you see the other side of this Pizza Trio trying to survive about 4 trios making the rotation. One of that's Clement's Trio coming from the Slurpy Swamp area. And I think what's interesting about Clement's Trio making that move down to Slurpy Swamp, the big question about Slurpy Swamp teams is how do they handle Surge? It always works out for a Slurpy team when they're being contested. And that is, it's kind of like trying to understand, like we're talking about music here. It's like understanding like notes on a page, right? Yeah, you could be able to play the tune kind of correctly, but you don't have the flow of it. You don't have the feel of it, the soul of a playbook plan or the music sheet plan coming out of Slurp Factory, you know?
Yeah, it's a little bit more reactionary. You have to kind of look at how zones roll and where people are around you. And I think for this trio, especially Fastaroki, Ardent, and Pizza on your screen, you saw it last game. I would say they're kind of like vampires. They always need to kind of, you know, be right beside another trio and act off and kind of suck away the power they have for themselves. Whether they're kind of controlling them and pushing them forward in spaces they want to go, or just tagging them up for beams. When they're by themselves, I feel like Fastaroki then has maybe more mistakes than usual compared to other trios. Meanwhile, though, Thunder Void and Wolfies, we watch them rolling on their merry day. They're looking so good. They're looking consistent. And overall in this game 3, once again, what everyone is trying to do is just still be consistent. It's not, you know, time to full send it just yet. It's not time to go for big pop-offs. It's just, you know, experiment with how you guys usually play. Try to fix up the strategies here and there. Don't do anything too drastic. For X8, Kylix, and Kaidon, they were looking so good earlier on. Nice peeps from X8. That purple infantry rifle packs a wallop. No one should be able to kind of talk to him while he's trying to speak. So should be fine on his rotations.
Yeah, you're talking about the ultimate talking stick on rotation. That is the infantry rifle. Look at that, 541 above. Kylix, Kaden, and X8 usually land in Weeping Woods down the logjam. They kind of make a rotation down the shanty town, going down below to talk to Chungus, and then they make their way back up, and they try to pick up any kind of the scraps that any of the Slurpy Swap team left behind. They have peppers in the inventory, because no doubt that gas station, Shio, south of Weeping Woods, is very valuable for that team. And they find some peppers and looking really good, considering that, as Reese mentioned, they love to go for height, and we have so many trios here going for height more so than anything. And that's why I predicted that Benji's trio would do well, considering that so many people don't want to be on the ground floor. I thought they would have the low ground for free, but they haven't got there just yet. Story up to the spire, and that is Artox, Enzar, and Karma, who usually go to the risky wheels. We've been seeing all day, but that just means DKS's trio is not here. Shakos and Gray not here right now defending their spire spot, because already, Shai, we saw them rotate a little bit more down south toward that wreck spot to look for Storm Surge tags.
That kind of little choose your own adventure. It's different every single game. You don't have to go to the exact same spot, but there's consequences to that.
Okay, be honest with me, Shio. Did you leaf mark and cheat on choose your own adventure when something happened? No, come on. You went all the way through and you're like, all right, that's my fate. I only
ever read every book once, and then I threw it in the trash. Never went back. No regrets.
Wow, right now, the fate will have to change. So far, X-Weeds and Alex here, who have been not necessarily choosing their own venture, their story has always ended right in the opening title screen. Now being challenged by Kiko, Scram, and Putra Kubin coming from Retail Row. Now, this is interesting. Usually Kiko's trio makes a scavenger route rotation going all the way from the backside of Caddy Corner. That's why they're behind Analex's trio at this moment here. You have to be careful, though. We all know Analex, X-Squeeze, and Snazy, they do have the opportunity to beams. They can triple spray. But look, they are under Storm Surge, so that advantage goes to Kiko's way, who is not exactly in a good spot from Storm Surge, so this is a very nasty fight.
How are they such in bad spots right now? I'm not sure at all. They're still taking big tags down. Snazy's almost eliminated currently. New zone locks in. There's so many people still to worry about, but yeah, Kiko needs the big damage. Scram is looking for it too. They're still only 10 above. Squeeze so low, he actually ends up going down. There's the first tag they need. Now they'll act on it. They know exactly what's going down. They get close and personal. Here's where pump tags can be traded though, and we'll see another trio on the backside beaming Kiko.
It's basically, this is not going good. The Snazzy and Elix trio decorated, always in the finals, always in the right momentum side. Now they're on the wrong side of momentum. Scram, Puchik, and Kiko, I think they're satisfied here. I think they got some valuable Storm Surge. Storm Surge has been turned off. They're good. They're going to continue them making the rotation. We always talk about disengaging here, getting valuable numbers here, but look off in the distance. This other rotation coming from Clement Floki all the way from Slurpy Swamp. This is the kind of, it's just so interesting to see. Metas change and things like that. We could talk about inside the mind type of era things of dead side and whatnot, but as soon as what's happening is dead side just becomes kind of just not the dead side anymore, because when you have 4 or 5 trios making that same rotation, it becomes very difficult.
Maybe I was wrong about the one-hit wonder type beat, because these guys are popping off in terms of free mock, right? They're building that album. It's all about the elims. The one big thing though is that basically now the game kind of devolves into, if you guys aren't used to watching Fortnite or wanting to know what to focus on, just the bottom right side of the map. You got to be looking at what type of zone you're in, looking at exactly who's around you and where to move. It's all about position at this point. You should have the damage. You should know what to do. A quick harpoon actually stops Freemock in his tracks. You're talking about back-to-back games and double-digit elims. It all starts with a good spot to be in and confidence. They're rolling up on Benji Fishy right now. They're not going to knock on the door. Okay, sounds good.
I mean, this would have been a horrific collision for Benji right now to run into Freemock. Freemock has been in the flow, man. That in-game flow was so clean. He did get bopped by Fasroki when he was cranking to height, trying to avoid the storm. But now we're in an impasse. Let's see where Zone 4 pulls. Doesn't pull that far away from Freemock's trio. We do know that Benji's going to make this rotation as well. There's already a couple of trios already sitting in the safe zone. It's not going to be easy. Luckily, Freemock does have 3 Peppers. Peppers is going to be the ultimate kind of equalizer when it comes to max pull. It's the second time we said equalizer. But Matty, Benji, Upify providing a roadmap to get into this rotation here. But you want to be careful, man. We've been seeing that a lot of teams have been recycling rotation considering the mobility is limited. And when you try to recycle, sometimes the garbage man shows up. And he bops you.
Sometimes you pick up trash on recycling day. You never know what ends up going down.
Mm-hmm.
Never know. Right now, though, what to know, right? In terms of watching a tournament, it's all about the points. Fasroki in third right now with 70. Anyone really you see heading triple digits in this game should be in your top 3 looking at game number 3. So Fasroki's looking for a big game here to roll all the way up. Freemock at 100. They've elevated. They're in first to start off this game, and they should be staying in first hypothetically if they have a very good game right now. First team to break at 100 point or triple digit threshold so far.
Taking a look at the map on your left, folks, there's 2 places here with high elevation. You have the spire on the north side. If moving circles go up there, it's going to be very difficult for teams from down below to do anything to contest or overtake height. And then you have the mountain range down south here. Plus, Roki's trio went 16 placements up their leaderboard from their performance in the previous game here. So as you mentioned, they're 30 points behind the first place team here. And actually, what was interesting is Seti, Cami, and Teak, just like they did in the finals last season, making quiet movement, just being consistent, not having a crazy pop-off game, just doing what they can to make sure that they're still in that top 3. We've seen them in the top 3 before here in this season, and they slipped out. This is what's so dangerous about the EU, that is so deep from the talent pool that someone could come in from the backside of the top 10 here in these last couple of games. This is only game 3. We still have 3 more to go after this one.
It's always the quiet ones you got to watch out for in these moments in terms of trios you're looking at around the map. Freemock, 345 damage. They've got the game plan. They're just waiting, watching, looking for where zone's going. It's max pull for them, but they have a game plan for it, acting almost immediately. They head it out through their base and look for an opportunity to strike. Meanwhile, as that's happening, though, it looks like 97 Default has found a way to get a big elimination. It's on the Ensar. I was wondering why they didn't move. It's because they took out Ensar's shield and entire HP pool. Now King Karma and Artox are in trouble. Have to play catch up. Have to pick up their teammate again. As that happens, Freemock takes big damage. Trade-off for them might not go both ways. I'm not sure who comes out of that, ahead. I'm not a businessman, but it looks like it's good for Freemock's side so far.
What definitely come out ahead is Benji's trio, but they're not on the right side of Storm Surge. As you're seeing them, they're going to have to take on a fight. They're going to have to cut someone off on their rotation. Now we're looking at other teams that are looking to fare a little bit better, considering Zone pulled up to the mountain range. You have Floki sitting there a second from height. You have Pizza, and Fast Roshi actually goes down.
What?
So Pizza and Arden are going to have to do this as a duo. We did see that trio as a duo walk away with the Victory Royale, but things are going to be a little bit more difficult this time around, considering that they don't have height so easily. Enzar, Arctix, Karma now back on their feet, making the rotation a little bit late here. They actually have a really nice rotation, but Enzar gets tagged again from the backside. Fremont picks up a knock on Kaden. Fremont is still very dangerous. He still has some remnants here of this momentum ride that he had in the previous game. But now Enzar with some beautiful leadership there by Karma, getting them in relatively almost free, except for a couple of tags here and not a lot of hard mats expended on the rotation.
Ironically, it's actually Fremont trio who's wrapping up Kylix with a huge finished knock right there that allows Ensar to move. They were right ahead of Ensar's trio, basically fighting two different teams at once. Ensar sees it, doesn't want to talk about it, moves on the right side. Good decision to make. Pizza still popping off, although Basroki's down. Code gets taken out. Merhin also just completely eliminated from the picture. The next zone locks in, it's towards the south side. Majority of teams are on the north. Everyone here is gonna have to make a lot of different decisions to stay ahead of this game.
All I know, Fremont must have did something nasty because he was clipping something. I mean, he wasn't moving. He was clipping something nasty here. But yes, you have to go up and over this mountain here. And I think the peppers here may be at all expended because they used it all in that rotation. But just look at how many builds, trios from down below. Benji, one of them being those trios. Buttrick making the way. Buttrick, no doubt, is pepper fight. Look at that. Very fast rotation here. You did see a piece of Benji here. It's Stacio's trio who's in the front of the pack here, looking very strong. Not yet looking back, because look, Ardent Pizza is right there. Very close. And if Ardent Pizza does this again, they may walk away with the Victory Royale as a duo.
It's gonna be a duo taking over at height, though. It was Fast Roki, who was alive last time, who was the reason why they ended up taking down Andalex. In this game, though, it'll be about controlling height. It'll be about staying away from the ground because it's spooky down there. The elevation is changing. That means, though, that every single team will have even less mats. Fremont going down in the feed from Wolfies is what I just saw. So they're really pushing their limits on the backside of zone. It looks like, yes, Wolfies did take him out. Wolfie will still be alive, though, as he's moving forward. Lots of different action as 97's finally picked up. And this zone is not going to be easy for anyone to move across.
Default did his best to hold on true. We did see Kasperse, Fixie, and Zenny. They're a trio that likes to look for height, but here we go. This is what people want to see. What does Benji, Amplify, and Matzo do on the low ground? They're looking dangerous and looking solid, considering Matzo is low in health. And actually, Matzo, they're going, Bungie, they're going up. Benji without Amplify, they're going up just a little bit, considering that they did lose Matzo here. They're going back down. Ooh, okay, I like this. I like this nice play. Going to the front side here. They will run to Zenny and Kasperse and Fixie, but they decide to switch layers, and Benji gets tagged from above. Oh no, they're not looking good here.
No, they get edited down too. This is trouble for Benji. But in terms of staying low ground, clutching in these situations, step one is always extermination. They want to make sure they take out any other teams beside them that are threats. And because they're not doing that, they can get control. There are no profits, no question marks on step 5 either. They're going to be taken out completely. Amplify left with a sliver of HP that gets picked off as well. Pizza's down below, still clutching out. Paxian, Stasio on height are making sure no one is having an easy time and are punishing all mistakes.
Slender's trio is still up. Slender's trio is still up, so they might have some opportunity to pick up a lot of people that are in shambles. Deceptos goes down, gets knocked. It looks like Floki here getting some big knocks on Marvin as well. Arctix applying the pressure down below. Arctix has been having some very dangerous rotation here. Now they're second from height, looking down below to try and hit anyone on Kasperse. Out goes our Harpoon, doesn't find anything, but Pixie gets an elim in the feed. Pixie, they're looking really solid down below, Shayo.
Right now, it's looking real solid too. I think Pizza's still alive. If he stays alive right now as DKS gets knocked, he could easily end up taking first place. He's in third right now. The only top 3 we see, Artox is still on the hunt. Big shots down off the Shaykhans. He can drop down for DKS too. Does he see him? Almost. He actually didn't catch him. No, and he takes all his shield away because of that. A costly mistake that might cost him in just a second here. Ensar is right above, but there's no mats to edit through for Artox right now. He's separated on a separate layer. I think Pizza is still alive on low, so he's accumulating all these placement points by himself, staying up top on height, still dropping down so much control. Last 3 builds for Artox. He gets slapped in the face while he's on low ground. No chance for him. I'm looking over. There he is. Pizza 4K. No HP. Gets another big sniper. Is that a shot on the fixie? I'm not sure. But he's surviving, thriving in the chaos, looking to secure first place, jumping back and forth. So many trios around him on the big wall of Wolfies. He goes for a shot. Doesn't land it just yet. Finally goes down. Slender gets taken out too. Stasio is an absolute phenomenal player from height, and he's taking beams on every single team below him.
He is so high right now, and he's very limited in builds. He's going to have to make a choice. Baxian does give him an out here. There is a zip line available if he decides to jump on down. Baxian and Stasio working together here. Floki's the last remaining member here. Victory Royale is imminent here for Stasio's duo up there. Floki working through. The zip line's coming in. You hear it. You all know that cuts through builds. Armed with the perfect
took out all his builds.
He took out all his builds. 113 tag, and he just tries to hide behind the tree. But Stasio closes the door and gets the Victory Royale right then and there. But I think you nailed it right on the head, Shio. Pizza's performance as a solo might have got him up to the leaderboard in that #1 spot.
So many different threads pulled on there with redemption for Stasio, right? These guys were bullied Sancho off spawn 2 games in a row. Finally clapping back in the third. And Pizza, how far did he go? We'll have to go to the desk to see exactly what those standings look like right now.
Thank you guys so much. My goodness. It is just a constant changing of everything we're seeing from game to game to game. Wow, this last one though, as Shio did mention, Stasio's trio got bullied off spawn 2 games in a row. And finally, they have the opportunity to make it an end game, and they say, look, we're going to take the Victory Royale. But Reese, it's coming off the heels of high ground. We're seeing that consistency factor of you get high ground, you can win a game.
Yeah, and Stasio's team is one that is known for going for high ground. Last season, when the rocket launcher was in that same drop spot that they went to on the Hydro 16, they landed there in the finals, and that was their kind of playstyle. Didn't work out necessarily too much for them then, but again, this is a typical playstyle we're used to seeing from this team in particular, from Stasio. So great to see that kind of work out for them. This is honestly one of the only games that didn't get kind of keyed off spawn as well, because that fight ended up going off from Floki's team in Slurpy Swamp. So, they then don't have to be contested. Then they have to focus on their full game later on as well. So really, really well played from them.
Yeah, I think Shire puts it perfectly, right? They started off the day not too hot, right? The first 2 games didn't go too well. And it's sort of, poetic that in the end, the final moments are against Floki, who's been someone bothering them in the beginning of the games, in the previous games. So I think, yeah, this could be the potential turnaround for them, right? We've seen this, in previous weeks where teams do start to pick things up in game 3. And if this is the sort of kick in the backside that they needed, then clearly it was worth it, because the Victory Royale is going to be really good for them on the standings.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, I'm noticing kind of in the mid game, a lot of trios are having quite a bit of problem with Storm Surge. How are they getting around these issues?
Now, that's a good question. So basically, their positioning on the map is extremely important, right? And being on a high ground position is that thing that's so important. We can see little map of the second zone here. So something I really want to point out is Stasio's team in red down at the bottom here, right? Notice how many congested players there are down here in this south side. And that's because of the hills, right? These hills are high points, which allow a lot of players to get angles in all these players. Notice there's no one down in the hills here, down below in this area, in this where we are, because it's low ground, so no one's gonna be down there. But now you've noticed when this third zone pops and when it appears here, this is when a lot of these players are gonna rotate in. And now notice the players who were on this high area down on the south side down here all have a freer rotate to stay in this spot. So they have Storm Surge and they're absolutely okay to do so. But how much does that impact the leaderboards is the true question.
Well, taking a look here at the leaderboards, you can see Wolfie, Freemock, and Default remain in first place. There's Slender, Void, and Wolfie sitting in second place. And I'm really impressed to see these guys here. Void sort of lasted quite a while in that game there. And I think this is going to be significant, because in the beginning of the show, we talked about the fact that, Dirty isn't their main spot. This isn't where we know them to land. But there's a good chance that they could quarterfinals here. And that means that, they're going to have to go back to retail for one. And they're going to have to sort of, navigate there and deal with whoever has to qualify through there. But nice to see them here high up in the standings. For Strokey, Pizza, and Ardit in third place as well. And Floki, of course, who was, the second place team from that game, sitting in fourth. Reese, you said, things are going to switch up. Things haven't really changed up all that much yet. And I know it's just game 3. It is just game 3. We do still have a couple more games left, but definitely seems like these are really these are the trios that look, like they want to be the ones to auto qual. But who comes out in the next couple of games? Who knows? Maybe we'll see some comebacks.
Yeah, and I think right now, if you want to get into that top 2, you need someone on your team that's named Wolfie, right? You've got Wolfie and Wolfies in first and second right now. So these guys clearly popping off. And as you said, the top 4 is definitely a little bit more solidified. But again, a big victory royale in its own is 30 points, and all the elimination points in that, 2 points per elimination. And any of these teams, I saw Teak, Snetty, and Cammy down in 5th. They're probably not going to be too happy with that, because these guys won a top 3. They want to qualify through to the finals. So they're going to need to win a game. They haven't won one yet, and it's kind of typical for them to do so. So we're looking out for that in the later half of the games.
Hey, absolutely, boys. And look, anything still can happen, right? We've got 3 games, and now there's a lot of pressure on these trios, because remember, it's only the top 3 that will auto-qualify onto finals. Everyone else is playing for series points. With 17 returning trios, every single one of them is saying, if we can make that top 3, we don't have to go to semis. We can just focus on finals. We can refine everything we need to and make sure we are ready to go. But Fortnite fam, as the action's heating up, as all of these trios are facing off, we have to go to a break. I know, but don't worry. We'll only be 5 minutes, and then we'll be back into the action with game number 4. So get up, get hydrated, come back. We'll see you for more Fortnite action after this.
Welcome back to the FNCS Fortnite fam. We're currently in game number 4 of Europe. We're looking at how the competition is divvying down, and on screen in a Lamborghini, kind of looking at a metaphor for how the placements on leaderboards are going today. Freemock, Wolfie, and 97 Default are in first place.
Oh, and they are styling and profiling. And this is going to be where everybody should tune in and pay a little bit more attention, because the people that were in the top 10 started to make their movement here up the board. I can't believe it. So far in the past 2 weeks, child, in qualifiers 1 and qualifiers 2, all of a sudden, people started to pop off. And so if you're in the top 3, if you're Fast Roki, Pizza, Ardent, Slender, Void, Wolfie, Freemock, and Default, you better watch out. You better not cry when you lose your top 3, because it's happened before. It may happen again.
It might happen again, but Pan Sancho, I thought last game would be that time, right? They went down a little bit earlier on. We had Pizza roll up with the clutch. That point difference, the distance has been made. They just look so good. They look secure. They're like a bag fall. You just can't crack them. There's no chance.
So this is so interesting to see how Sweaty Sands trios play. Freemock's Wolfie Default landing in Sweaty Sands. Normally you see like I want to say like Tayson's trio, they would be aggressive. They go out there. But Deal's trio last season, they'd be aggressive. They'll go and push all these West Coast teams as they've been gifted a llama. But now they're not doing that. They're just there to get their upgrades from the Reaper House, and they move out. You got to be careful there, because Tryharder's trio is up there. They're dangerous, as well as Kaiden's trio. They make that movement all the way down from Logjam, and they go up down for Holly Hedges. I've seen them have kind of clashing at Holly Hedges before, where kind of Kaiden kind of slowed down Freemock's rotation. They looked at the VOD reviews, they kind of change it, and they move on through. Now, if this trio does advance, though, Shio, will they get Sweaty Sands uncontested? I doubt it.
Big doubts. And I think, that's one of the things about Qual 3, right? It's just, you have so many of those open spots. People roll in with that confidence. What ends up happening in the finals? They'll find a spot. It might not be the same level of success. They might have to change up their game plans entirely, but getting there must be step 1. You can't let step 2 and 3 stop you. What does
Analex's trio have to do to get into the top 3? Right now, they're sitting in 20th place. Have they, is there so much tape on them? Have they popped off so many times that trios have figured them out? Every time we see them in the rounds before, they're being contested. Is it a drop spot situation, or is just the trio running out of gas? Hey man, you make it to the playoffs multiple times. You get a lot of high intensity FNCS gameplay underneath your belt. Eventually, you're just going to run out of steam.
I think that is just the drops. I think they still have a lot of steam left in the tank. Very good team. We've seen their prowess before. It's just off spawn. They might get affected. Even if you end up winning Sancho, right? Off spawn, the same amount of time you would in a normal game, it still affects the way you play and move the rest of the lobby entirely.
I'm not sending in my condolences. I'm not bringing out the shovel. I'm saying I believe. And I know that team, what they can do. And they always pop off, and they're always in the finals. So far, the road for them this season has been filled with a lot of potholes.
Yeah, they might have to actually end up taking a few detours. They might have to roll in through semifinals. Who knows? Because
who knows?
20th place right now, this will be a very important game for Andalex to roll in and place at least top 3 if they want to make top 3. So we'll see if the comeback rolls through for Fast Roki, Pizza, and Ardent, though. Different ideas, different entire day for them. They've looked so good.
And yeah, they're sitting already in the safe zone, already looking towards Caddy Corner. So coming from Misty Meadows, very traditional to go over there into that deadly kind of triangle between different zones of Lazy Lake down south from Misty, and then of course Caddy Corners. Now we're taking a look at Repton. Be quiet. Haven't really seen him on the broadcast there, but still 55 points. I like where they are right now. If they could string together, like I mentioned, that coupling of games, a decent game, a top 10 finish, maybe a top 5 finish, and then a victory royale, they could get into that top 3.
I think is there's this B story now that's activating too, right? So after the first 3 games, once you get into game 4, 5, 6, yeah, we know 100 points is where people need to be for a trio like this with Lazarov. They're at 55. They need like a win, right? You just mentioned the Sancho, a little top 10, a little bit of this and that.
Yep.
It's not just that they need. They would need the top 3 to also falter. And now in the last 3 games, once, Freemock's figured out how to frag, once you have Pizza 4K just cooking up people on low ground and clutching, that doesn't happen. they end up still thriving and surviving. So not only are they going to need top 3, they're going to have to need double-digit elims. They're going to have to go the extra mile entirely. That'll be very difficult. Where you're trying also, you can overstep. I feel like that's what Shea causes on right now. That type of beat, just going down in the feed again. They're trying so hard to do different things off spawn. It doesn't look like in the last 2 games it's worked out at all. They're always playing a man down now, which is so difficult.
Yeah, 12th place and fully eliminated. So they're locked into that place here for this match. They moved up 8 points here. We're talking about if you're just tuning in, if you're just coming into what's been happening, we're seeing the big names like Seti, Cammy, and Teak on the outside of the top 3. Floki, Clement, Deceptos on top 4, just on the outside. And if you're wondering where Benji is, right now, they're all the way down in 19th place. They did make some movement up the board here. So much more gameplay here to go. As you've seen, Deceptos is leading all the players with 28 elims in round 4 this FNCS, and we did see him pop off as a solo in that first game.
I feel like he's getting just completely shown up right now by that player on his screen right there under his crosshairs, Freemock. He's playing that Deceptos solo elim playstyle so well, back-to-back big elim games, putting the trio on the back in terms of having elim points. I mean, these two just, showing down side to side at Weeping Woods. It's straight out of a movie. Those 2 players are going to be definitively head-to-head today to see which can stay in top 3 and maybe even break in.
Nice tags from Fast Roki. No elims yet this match. Taking a look at the safe zone. It's going to be between Weeping Woods and what was the pass of Hunter's Haven. It's in this kind of canyon area. As pointed out by Reese during the breakdown, there's just so many mountains and valleys and things of that sort. You're already seeing so many teams like Fast Roki perched up there, as well as Devon's trio as well, perched up on these mountains, looking for valuable Storm Surge tags. And now you're seeing the kind of changes meta as well. It's not built out of a hard mats. These are wood bases here. And considering that the Primal Fire Bow has been bolted, considering it got a little bit too hot, you still have to be careful. I mean, I was expecting someone today, Shayo, to have like a bunch of fire jars, firefly jars. I wanted to see that. I thought that would be, considering how dangerous fire can be, considering it got a little bit of a crazy enhancement. I gotta say, man, I'm surprised no one's using that strat.
I mean, fire can't be controlled, Sancho West. So
if you're on height, you're vibing.
Jars, that's true. But
if you're on height, you're vibing.
People aren't getting height, right? And all these mid-ground trails, I've seen it a little bit on social medias, like when with fire jars or flame bows, when they use them, they end up scorching themselves. They end up getting burnt.
True. It's true. And we've all been saying here in the Fortnite world, you play with fire, you fight fire with fire, and sometimes fire does burn you back. Fast Roki here on the blazing path here on the top of the board after some great performances back-to-back as a duo. Remember, either one of them trading out as a duo, Fast Roki and Arden doing it, Pizza and Arden doing it. If they could kind of have a trio performance like we saw last week with Andretta, Savage, and Refsguard, I mean, they could kind of just stamp their way in here already.
Fast Roki's like that, or just this trio in general is an interrupter catcher type trio. Other people a little bit more aggressive. They like to work the pinches. These guys like to work just one person inside a trio and then go forward after that as well.
Yeah, and Pizza and Ardent were kind of that trio in the finals last season that were always around. We always saw them middle of the pack. Remember, placements kind of doled out. If placements were like this format, no doubt they have a better finish, but they were always around. We always saw them, Shayo, coming up and leading the front, front side of the storm here on the low ground, or kind of just always causing chaos there. So it's really good to see that they're able to put a back-to-back performance, adding Fast Roki to the mix.
It's going to be troublesome to play with that type of interrupting play style this game, though. Everyone's kind of solidifying how they're playing the game, fixing mistakes, not taking too many risks in game 4 and 5. You'll see now, too, that Deceptos, who was just on screen, is also at 106 points. With the 3 elims that trio has, that full squad wipe, they'll basically be tied now with Fast Roki, Pizza 4K, and Ardent. So this is going to be a big decider for who's in third place entirely. Kefi, Jachu, and Cubics. Remember, these guys have to come somewhere inside that top
29.
29, yeah, exactly. They can't come anywhere near last place in this qualifier at all. And they're looking at a pretty good day so far with the points they have. They're nowhere near that threshold. They should be good to roll in through series points. Still, they're looking to be inside that top 3. People want to be able to go right past those semifinals. That third zone is just closing in. You'll see a bunch of people still walking towards it. Still a lot of story though to talk about before the end game rolls through.
Yeah, Catfish Trio in the previous round, they usually made it off spawn and they got into the placements very easy, that top 17. So expect them to keep getting those placement points. They came in at 3rd place with 12 elims and 5th with 8 elims in the previous round.
So their perspective, anyone who's at 68 points right now, we're looking at, you know, this threshold of team who try to take big risks and get towards the top, break in towards that top 3, go for triple digits. Anyone who has above 100 points, we just looked at Fast Roki's trio. I want to even go back and check on them again. I believe you got a golden infantry rifle, a legendary item outside of a big airdrop that came down. So they'll be able to, you know, do big things in that. We saw it in game 2, right, Sancho? They just look at height, they beam people out with, you know, long range weapons. That infantry packs a big punch. It'll just make their entire playstyle even better.
There's nothing like a double dink from an infantry rifle to get you way through. It's almost as if you're getting hit with a sniper shot. Now we're taking a look here. All the teams now getting off their purchase here, making their rotations here, satisfied with their Storm Surge tags, moving on through. Now we're taking a look at Kiko, Scram, and Patrick here. Again, Scram, Indreda, and Refsguard. They were the previous trio already. Indreda and Refsguard into the finals. Scram looking for a way through. Kiko actually has another duo mate here of Slender. So Slender and Kiko, longtime trio mates with Mosh, longtime duo mates here, combating here for a top 3 spot, because that's what's on the line. Camiseti and Teak already guaranteed to make it to the semifinals, but they want to get all the way to the finals with a top 3 performance, sitting just on the outside in 5th place going into this match.
Want to make sure you have all those top performances. Camiseti, Teak has had trouble overall today. Want to make sure they reach towards the top to be in the top 3. In terms of trouble, you know, they're still 5th place. They're looking really good, but you want to see them at the very top spots. They've been so close, Sancho, on every single point.
And once again, Trouble rears its ugly head. It's Trouble named Storm Surge. They're 300. Okay, they got some big things. Now they're above 176 with some valuable. I think those stinks kind of put some big time tags there in Shizel here. Those stinks are going out. That's going to be the kind of Storm Surge tags you desperately need, because considering Cammy, Seek, and Teddy have always been having that issue in their previous week. Now they're looking pretty solid.
For these guys, the biggest issue I feel like is they're kind of walking down, like, you know, the stairs at home looking for water at night.
Oh,
that
man, I hate
last
that.
extra step,
Oh, yeah.
they're overstepping. You know, when you hit the ground real hard, you miss just the steps. They're literally overstepping every single situation. It's like an extra 5-second peak, and then boom, your foot hurts. I mean, for these guys, it's one of their members goes down in the trio, but you know what I mean, right? You want to make sure the lights are on, you're making the right decisions, and really understanding what's going on around you. Right now, Cammy split apart from Study Teak, looking for different angles, but they all come back together. This Stink Ball's gonna do big damage on every single trio below. It's kind of just, you know, sardine together amongst each other.
And sometimes Storm Surge just literally shuts off the lights, and you have no choice but to run into the dark and avoid that treacherous step right there. Tech seating Cammy, sitting on the high ground, dominant position, no doubt. Look at some very valuable stinks right there, sent with the bow, and Cammy does get a knock through. So that's going to be huge on this rotation to be able to make their way through to access them. And I think they're going to be happy sitting up here and letting the other trios down below make this move. And as you hear, the half in and half out, 5th zone, not a bad pull, but there's about 3 to 4. I'm trying to take a look. Yeah, 6 trios there right in that wedge where they have to walk into.
I hope these guys have done their cardio, man. The bus is taken off for the 4 teams ahead of them. They're all above 100 points. Cammy is 20 points behind. They're gonna have to run to catch up to the next stop, maybe even the one afterwards as well. This is gonna be so much trouble. Good shots, nice relieving pressure. They're on low, Krusty right beside them. This is what I'm talking about. There's always one person that takes a big shot. This time it's Seti. They can't go down. They need all 3 members alive if they want to catch up.
Kiko, Puchik, and Scram sitting really nice on height. And they're looking down below on the other side just slightly as X Squeezes trio also vying for height. This is going to be a big game for Andalix to be able to get up off the mat. They've been pretty much knocked down on their feet throughout the entire weeks here, but that champion always finds a time to rise, and this might be that opportunity to rise. But Scram is going to always alpha up.
What are you?
Scram! Oh, wait, a little bit too soon, child, too soon.
That is a courageous strategy, my man, Scram. He's just single tarping close to Andalex. I think He was just trying to put pressure down, but they know exactly how to get those beams away. And Sancho, you're talking about what does Andalex need to do to get that 20th place? I'm saying victory royales. I'm seeing them on height, but I'm also seeing Fast Roki alive somewhere in this game. They thwarted Andalex on height before. They have to be very careful on this top spot. They have, I think, the advantage on the zone side that they're on. But once again, every single time Andalex has height, somehow, even though they're so good at playing it, they lose it in this specific zone. They need to be careful.
Here it is, Scram making a move forward with just Scram and Kiko. Patrick did go out down on the backside. Scram in danger of getting chopped again, but Snazy Andalexen squeeze. Scram goes down. The chop was too strong. Some great defense. Fantastic defense from Andalex's trio to stop that push there, that contestant from high. Now Kiko is going to have to go and do it all alone here, armed with the purple pump, making his way, and no hard mats except 5 builds going forward.
64 points. This was their chance to kind of come back too, but it looks like it's all shambles now as Kiko moves towards the storm. Seti, though, has been knocked down to what looks like the zone. Teak responds back to Artox in the feed. We'll see Kiko kind of picking up the scraps of many different fights down below. Krusty will be free HP behind him, but he doesn't actually make the right move. Pizza goes down, so a chance now for that 4th place trio to catch up.
Oh no, it is Fremok at height with Pepper Power able to take away height so easily from Andalex's trio. Now they're in a great position, but Chayo, they're just a little too high up. They're gonna have to make their way down as Wolfie there is leading the tarp, and they're finding some great angles, and they're gonna try to take advantage, and that Storm Surge tag down below is gonna give them that bullseye target that they need to kind of find someone's in shambles. 4 people have to go down. Fremok, Wolfie, and Deadfall may put in another great performance here in round 3, looking very solid here with some fine opportunities to get some a lot of elims. Down below, you see Jachu sitting on the front side. You see Matzo Amplify Benji just on the back side of the pack, trying to find a way to that front side where they want to be. Kiko, like I mentioned, without any hard mats, now down to soft mats, well, actually down to nothing, maybe 4 builds, and trying to find an opportunity to get inside as much as possible here. No hits right now, down to 3 builds. Looking his way in, goes all the way down, gets tagged here on the layer switch, now on the ultimate low, but gets found out and out.
He gets just knocked away. I think Snazy's still alive somewhere in these builds. Benji is popping off at the same time right beside Floki and Deceptos. It might not be Pleasant Park, but there's still some type of contention. Box to box. This time they'll have all the ammunition available to them. Just fight right beside them over and over. But Freebox right above their walls. He's trying to aim in and knock down. Deceptos, meanwhile, though, doesn't care who's beside him. He looks towards the zone. He gets big knocks, but now he has to run straight past Benji Fishy if he wants to survive.
Looks like Benji is going to be right there holding him off, forces the layer switch from Deceptos and Floki. They go off it. They do not want to fight Benji. Floki goes down. So it's all up to a solo performance of Deceptos. Deceptos is holding on as much as possible. Already did it once today. Finished in 2nd place in solos. The skill is there. Now making a way to the front side here. Wants to avoid the bottom. If he gets knocked down, he will run right into Benji. And Benji's right below looking for an opportunity. Deceptos here on the 2nd from height at the moment here. You see Snazzy still up. The full trio of Matzo, Amplify, Benji need a victory royale to get their journey up to fight. But it's now Deceptos here running into the blender. How are you alive, Deceptos? He gets taken out right then and there.
Snazy's popping off though on low ground as a solo this entire time. He's doing exactly what Deceptos and Fremok did before. Default up above finally stops his entire reign. How many elims was that though? What does the placement mean for them? A final 2v2, a trio versus what I believe to be a solo player, Marvin, inside the zone. He's got the heals, doing his best Cray impression. But my man, this is not Slurpy Swamp. You're not going to be able to heal off this pressure right now. Some tags on the Fremok, but Wolfie's there from the backside to be the leader of the pack in the hunt. What a game. That is a lot of changes. Andalex's team with Snazy on the forefront this time, popping off with like 5 elims at the very end, getting a top 3, and then past that Fremok retaking height and popping off once more.
You know what that did not change, Shio, is the #1 spot. Fremont with a huge double-digit victory royale. That's what we want to see. Let's go ahead and kick it to Reese, 112K, and our host, Zeke, to break it all down.
Thank you guys so much. Man, that was a very different game. We got to see Fremok by himself just solo clutch and make it into a high placement and eliminations. But now he's like, okay, this is what it looks like when my boys are here. When all 3 of us are together, we can close out games. Reese, this is what they need, right? They are essentially guaranteeing themselves a potential top 3 spot with just this game alone.
Yeah, we didn't see how many eliminations fully and like exactly how many points they're on, right? How many points are they on now? That's got to be over the kind of qualification mark for that top 3. You've got to think. So huge match for them. Height team, you know, we've mentioned it multiple times today. How many times these guys go for height? They took it kind of first moving, nailed it. But another thing on top of this, right? After this, now what's going to happen with the next 2 teams, second and third? You know, we saw Andalex's team really pop off there. In particular, Snazy absolutely doing a great job. He was down in 20th. So that's got to be pulling them closer up towards that top 10 right now.
Yeah, right. The last time we saw these guys do well, right, in Qualifier 1, it sort of was they started off well. Then there was other teams coming back and really ruining their day. Maybe today is going to be the day where they're the ones who started off slow and finally are going to be able to get back into things. I don't want to get too ahead of myself with that trio, though. In particular, right, with Fremok's trio, come on, let's just get serious. This is a performance and a half. Do you know what I mean? I think when you talk about teams really showing up in the final opportunity to make, you know, top 3 to auto qual, teams who look like they want it more, these guys they want it more. You know, they're out there performing on a game-to-game basis, and in particular, Fremok, I keep highlighting him, but he has just been ridiculous. Most eliminations that game as well, and I think these guys now, if they can sort of just manage the tournament well, realize, hey, we don't need to get too ahead of ourselves. Let's not make any silly plays. Let's just keep it going. You know, they're definitely going to be in that top 3. So I'm really excited to see these guys hopefully in the finals.
Okay, so we talked about top 3. Guys, let's talk about 5th through 8th place. Okay, we got a handful of trios here on the outside looking, and they want to auto qual. So talk to us about what these trios have to do, especially with 2 games left. What do they need to do to try and make it in the top 3?
Look, this was coming into that final game. So RZ God, Vestreo, and 80, these guys were absolutely popping off. They were in that first game, picked up the first victory out, but then, you know, very much so didn't able to continue that on through. So they're going to have to pull out something big. Same with X8, Kylex, and Caden as well. These guys performed so good. Kind of in those kind of second game, they got a bunch of eliminations, but, you know, they've been a little bit hit or miss. This is a high ground team, and they haven't been able to do that yet.
Yeah, Camisay and Teak, right? They've been decent on the day, right? It's not like they've been awful or anything, but definitely started to slow down a bit there. I believe they came, 12th in the most recent game, and so they're looking right there. You can see them sitting in 6th place. So look, these guys need to sort of get back to how they sort of started off. Like we said, no surprise, Wolfie, Fremok, and Default sitting in 1st place. Floki, Clement, and the Siptos, though, sitting in 2nd. This is a team who many expected to auto-qual maybe a bit earlier, and so to see them now, you know, setting up to be in that pole position is definitely a positive. And for Strokey, Pete's, and Ardit, who have been incredibly decent on the day as well. So, you know, once again, not too many surprises, Reese. I'm just saying, it seems like a lot of these teams have sort of been doing a bit better. One thing I will say, though, is it's nice to see sort of Benji, Matzo, and Amplify getting there, right? That 4th place last game is huge for them because they started off, you know, poor. That's just the reality, right? So to see them now be in a position where they look like they could maybe snatch away a qualification spot, definitely looking up for those guys.
Yeah, and last week I think the qualification points was around 166, so they can do it, but you got to remember, you know, they're down on 85 right now, so it's going to be tough. There are a lot of players, like we said, 2nd all the way to 6th that are much closer, but still, it's not far, right? 3rd, there's a massive distance, right? Wolfie, Fremok, and Default really are taking away from it, so any of these teams could qualify, but if in this next game, right, we see Camisay and Teak, we see Jatu, Kefi, Kubex, we see Amplify, Matto, Benji, any of these people further down, we see them kind of be eliminated earlier on, their chances get really lower and they kind of start to dwindle a little bit because they're going to need these big matches. And realistically, some of these teams need 2 big matches, not just 1. But again, Benji, Manto, Amplify, last 2 games, 10 eliminations in 4th, and the game before that, even though they placed 10th, they still had 8 eliminations. So they're picking up the elims. It's just they need to be able to kind of convey that earlier on in the late game too.
Hey, it's doable, right? It is doable. They need 2 big games. We have 2 games left. We've seen it. It's happened before, but now is that time, right? This is it. This is the end of the line. If some of these trios don't make up these high placements and eliminations, they're not going to qualify. Some of them need to hit top 3 if they want to make it through to semis or even finals at all. So pressure is on. It is time, though. Game number 5 of the FNCS here in EU. Shy Wager Sancho, back over to you.
It's intense. We went from happy smiles to serious faces and hard sprints for everyone right now who's in the top 3, the top 15, and in between. Sancho, it's getting close towards the very end.
Oh man, this is where a lot of teams from the 7th and 8th spot kind of made their big time push. And Benji, Amplify, and Matzo are sitting right there. They have a prime opportunity to get in. And hey, we were talking about week 1, how it's locked the door, right? It's over. No one's going to be able to push in. We said it again in week 2. That's over. No one's going to be able to push in. Now everyone's kind of keeping an eye out for it. It's not solidified. Hey, even Wolfie's Fremont in default. Not guaranteed just yet.
I feel like the way, you know, well, with Fremont, Wolfie in default, I feel like just the way they're landing, the way they're attacking endgame, the positions of control they have, they'll keep making placement. I feel like they at least in these 2 games pinch and clinch that top 3. It's for, I think, the other 2 teams where trouble kind of looms, right? Like, what I'm looking at specifically is that I think through all the qualifiers, there's always one team who's around like the top 15 right now that has 2 phenomenal games and gets really close to qualing, and sometimes even just qualing off that last game. We saw it with, I believe it was Kaiser that last week. It just rolled in at 3rd place off a game 6 win with double-digit elims, and they're having good placements throughout the day. There's some consistent stories I feel like might be, you know, missing right now. Benji is definitely one of them, you know, who's starting to ramp up. 10th place followed by a 4th. I'm looking at, you know, the clutch of Snazy as well in 13th place. They just got their first high placement game in game number 4 at 3rd. Fremont, don't get me wrong, is playing really well. So is Floki to Siptos. So is Fastroki, but I feel like it's not over yet. Anyone in this top 15 can really have 2 good games.
Let's take a look at the first sighting of Zone 1. You're seeing this is going to be a nice opportunity for Fremont's trio to be able to capitalize being gifted this zone. They're going to have the free reign to go all the way to the west coast. They could dip on down to Logjam. They could go into Weeping Woods to kind of make sure they're at full strength and get additional peppers, because peppers was a big time. Now you're taking a look at the top right. That's Amplify sitting up there at Pleasant Park. They're going to have to make a rotation in from the north side. Not quite sure what will be their strategy rotating in. If they go directly through Sweaty Sands, considering that Inzar's trio as well has free reign to be able to do what they need to do. This is where it gets interesting. A lot of people on the social medias always tend to, you know, say something about zone not being their way, coming through their way. This is an opportunity to be able to solidify that, you know what, hey, sometimes zones go away, sometimes it...
85 points for them. Beside them is Jachu, Kefi, and Cubics. Fastroki in a big fight right now already, though. Big Shots is one of those teams who's slightly a little bit lower in the standings overall. Fastroki will make almost quick work of it. Missing 1 tack shot, so close, but I think it's almost enough. And then Ardent will be able to, yes, get that vibe off as well. They look fine.
You know, I haven't heard the tack shotgun in-game as much. I haven't heard that purple tack just popping off. As it may be the POVs that we're tuning into, but we were so concerned that that tack shotgun would kind of make it staple on the way back, but it's been the pump game. Pump has always been king, to my opinion. To give a shout out to Monster D-Face out there in AEs. He always says the power of the pump has made you a player and a half stronger. Granted, the output, you're still gonna not be able to 200 somebody from a purple pump, but still, I still find it very dangerous and the go-to weapon of choice when it comes to the shotgun meta.
Now, firepower definitely there for all players, and it's needed for Ardent, Pizza, and Fastroki. Elims are definitely one of the biggest things for these guys rolling in on the day. They have so many every game. 12 Elim first, 8 Elims beforehand after the fact. You know, it's 23 Elims overall today. With a lot of placement as well. They're popping off. They're at one of the highest thresholds of Elims we're seeing today as well. So they're looking really good in 3rd place. It's just, they're also at that spot where anyone can kind of come through and take over them. Siptos already did. He's in 2nd now. We just looked at Benji. He's looking at this trio on your screen right now. This is the one that he needs to take over. Peppers will not be able to help you run away from trios on standings. It's just in the game they boost your speed.
We've been talking about Fremont, but still, Fastroki and Ardent are old school as well. Ardent coming all the way from the World Cup duos. A lot of veteran presence on this trio here, with Pizza being the new guy on the scene. Now they're going to take in another engagement here from Caljo, who's been fighting on this kind of rotation all day long and has been everywhere on the south side of the map. Always in the community has been saying it's still a fighting trio. They've been trading, they've been getting some knocks here, and this would not be a good opportunity for Fastroki to go down. We've seen this before. Any teams in the top 3, they tend to lose steam right here, right now in this very dangerous game 5.
They're playing basically save the world at this point. 2 waves of different characters coming in, looking to break down their base. They're the only trio I've seen so far have fights like this where people are forcibly pushing in moment after moment. It's like, you know, the guy who decides zones or whatnot is basically deciding that Fast Roki, Ardent, and Pizza is gonna have the ultimate test before moving on towards the end portion of this game. Luckily though, Chashi and Kaojao actually back up. They don't have to fight and go on to the next level.
The ultimate test is you sitting in the top 3. Notice that you may play a little closer to your vest. You may play a little bit more passive. Nothing is flow. Maybe you're questioning yourself. A lot of teams, a lot of trios will just end up being like a boss, like you always like to say, that final boss mentality, because every engagement is so crucial to make sure you secure your top 3 spot. And in EU, man, I just feel like history always repeats itself here when it comes to it. It just happens to be that way. The theme, the comeback factor here. Now we have a really cool comeback story from Wolfies. I mean, Wolfies, the last time we really saw find success was in season 4, coming into 6th place there with Kenzel and CRR. Wolfies all over the place this season, trying to find a home, picking on Steady Cammy and Teak, who love to use that bridge to replenish their hard mats. Getting a nice little couple of shots and the adios.
Well, they're able to move all the way around and across. One tired down, but it shouldn't stop them too hard. No one's really taking shots as well. For these guys right now, they're coming in right at that 4th place slot. They're almost there, 11 points behind 3rd, which is Fast Roki. Once again, everyone is just here to attack Fast Roki's team, get above them by any chance possible.
Now we're seeing here 75%. If you have the high ground going to the 7th zone, you're going to get that victory royale. And this lobby, this set lobby has all been fighting for that high ground to net those victory royales. And it's been kind of like a opposite day when it comes to EU. Usually the low ground teams are racking in a lot of elims, but we've been seeing some great success from the high ground team. Scram, Kiku, and Patrick are the kind of team that don't kind of find engagements in the early mid. They usually avoid any kind of box fighting or any kind of scrums on the storm edge. Expect them to just finally make their move when it matters the most, and that's in game. So if they get tested, they may go down early here.
One of the squads already going down early is SD, Bat Sniper, and Marvin. These guys are rolling in also 5th place, right in front of Steady Cammy Teak, right on that triple-digit threshold as well. Scram, Kiko, Putrick, yeah, they're looking good. 70 points overall, though they're going to really have to basically get at least top 5 this game and then pop off afterwards as well and have a slew of eliminations if they want to catch up to the top 3.
Now, Scram's trio, they are very dangerous low ground. Now, we were talking about height, but that trio, from what I've been watching, Sayo, they finesse the low ground very well. Very surgical. They're not going to try to kind of over tarp the low ground. They're not going to try to take everything. They're going to find the right opportunities to strike, looking for that cutoffs, looking for those good, easy eliminations when you're on the low ground. They're not trying to alpha it, as you've been seeing like a Benji fishing.
That's trouble then. They're not going to make it. I'll have to say it, because they're going to be facing Benji. They're going to be facing Gepi, Jochu, and Cubics. They're going to be right up against the walls of Wolfies, Void, and Slender. There's too many threats right now who are alphaing up on low ground. You cannot play this passive and then hit 100 points and be in the top 3. You have to be proactive.
Would you say right now the best play is to get off of the ground and go to height? So many trios are really contesting on it, but we've been seeing that they're susceptible to being overtaken.
It's tough to call. It's more so just identifying the story overall of people rolling in. I'm looking at all these trios at 70 points. Kaiden, Fixie, Kaspersa, and Zini right beside him. Like, yeah, these guys have displayed good performances overall. They're just falling behind the pack regardless of being on low or on height. Just pay attention more so to who they're actually facing up against. Like Benji Amplify Matzo. If Fixie takes out on the bottom right of your screen, if he takes out this trio or affects them in a greater way, that could be a dope way to push up, take control of low ground, and get into the top 3. The issue is now they're playing passive on it. Benji's not going to be able to be taken down at this point. That's fine overall. It's the right way to play. Unfortunately, these tags, although they'll get fixed into the end game, if it doesn't change things, then that'll be an issue. Kaiden, Exit, and Kylix as well. They've tried what you're talking about, Sancho. Going for height overall, you know, trying to be that alpha type team, but sometimes bitten off a little bit more they can chew. Now that jaw's getting sore, man. 69 points overall, kind of teetering towards 70. It's going to be troublesome for them to come back and hit top 3.
And I'm looking at the feed. Cammy, Teak, and Seti, their mid-game woes continue. Now, I know they're on the right side right now, but they're trading. They're getting knocks, and they're getting like close to being eliminated. They're, yeah, you know, those are the kind of trades you can't really afford in mid-game, considering here in EU, people love to punish late rotations. And at the same time, Cammy, Seti, and Teak, I think they're taking these fights because they haven't been really on the right side of Storm Surge, and we've been seeing them just below or just above. And right now, I think that's why it's making them slide down the top 3. They were slide down 3 spots before. The previous game, they slid down 1 spot. Now they're sitting at 6. So can Seti, Cammy, and Teak be able to wrangle that Storm Surge issues and kind of shake off those mid-game woes that they be having?
Maybe, but you know, just like you mentioned in terms of trades that are going on across the map, what I'm basically trying to say is for people who aren't really in the top 5, it's no longer time for trades. It's time for a complete robbery. It's time to just, you know, go for and get greedy on the map if you want to come top 3. You can't just play completely normal and then expect to get all the way ahead of these teams.
We all love playing cops and robbers when we were kids, but right now the cops that are sitting in the top 3 are holding out all the robbers trying to make their way in to break into that vault to try to get into the finals. Top 3 gets you all the way in and gets you that bag. Sitting at the top 3 spots, Roki, Pizza, Ardent, Floki, Clement, Deceptos, Fremont, Wolfie, and Default, all sitting in the top 3 looking strong. In 5th place, Bad Sniper, who we haven't really been talking about, coming out of Lazy Lake, all out. Marvin and Etsy alongside, gone. So that's what we're seeing right now. Still 6, 7, and 8 in this fight. 9th, RZ God, who got the first Victory Royale, slipping all the way down from the first spot, all the way down to 9th place.
Tasio, Paxton, and Sinks, they all had one, you know, very phenomenal game rolling in throughout the day. Looking real good, but it only really amassed them 19th place overall. They haven't been consistent going down off spawn. Kylix X8 trouble once again knocking at their door. This is bad. Kylix already down. Kaden gone. X8 gonna be succumbed to be just in the top 15. Another name on the board unless he does something crazy right here. It is a multi-team type of brawl right now. He goes down in 2 seconds though. They'll try to clap back. They'll try to get up. The series points still matter. They'll have better seedings overall rolling into semifinals. We'll have to use this last game for practice, or maybe even there's a 40 elim game that rolls down. Who knows what happens?
You never know. The pop-off is real. The pop-off, especially in this 2-point per elim, could definitely happen. We've been seeing teams put 17 elims. The Flowist has put a 17 in the previous week. We're able to catapult them into the top 3 with a coupling of some strong games here. And now you're seeing Magic right above this trio of this, so many trios fighting for this center position. Considering how dominant it can be, you don't have to make crazy rotations. There's just a short hop, skipping away if you don't pull zone.
Game 5 might be one of those confusing things to understand exactly what to look for or how is the vibe of the game really dropped down. If game 6 is the one where you need to shoot that 3 and really get the points on the board to secure the top spot, right? You know the differences. Game 5 is just about getting the ball on your side of the court, getting possession of everything and getting everything under control before you take that final shot. So you just saw the format flash on screen. That means getting towards that top 5, getting towards the top 3, getting that ball on your side for the person who can make that shot next game. This game is all about, if you're at 64 points, as you see on Devin's screen, getting higher towards 80 or maybe hopefully 100 this game. If you're in Stasio's position, it's about learning consistency. Yeah, you might have just won a game before, but now you need to push forward and get maybe towards that 70-point threshold and have another amazing game after the fact, rolling into the end of the day. It's all about putting things onto your terms.
And Stasio is now a solo trying to get into those the 80s, the 30s. And I was wondering, you know, Stasio, when he was on the bottom right, I was like, why is Stasio so far out of his zone? It's because he's being held by a duo here. He's going to have to time this correctly to avoid this. And I think he's going to go on the south side. Not a lot of arrows facing that way. And we've already seen some clutches from Deceptos. We've seen clutches from Snazy here. Stasio's going to have to clutch. Stasio and Snits have always come into the heats. That's where they've always stopped here. So Stasio If you could just get in just around, like you said, the 70s and 80s, might have a chance to sneak into that top 3. But that's going to be a difficult ask considering their situation here is not looking great.
Yeah, if it's not for the top 3, at least just rolling up into the top 10 will show these guys what it actually takes to roll in and have a good game overall, a good tournament performance. Rolling into the semifinals, you got to remember different thresholds once we get into there. This is all good practice. All these teams will be there in those heats, or most of them, if everything goes right today. So you want to make sure you have all those placements as high as possible. And we said he take a little bit of damage being taken. Man, these guys are having such a rough time rolling in. It just feels like they're getting paper cuts over and over again. And suddenly those turn into big gashes, and they're, you know, a trio down. Unfortunate duo games being played, and that's not the steady Cammy Teak that we know. We know these guys are a top 3 team. We know they roll in and play so well off of each other. They're just having a little bit of trouble today.
Patrick picking up 2 elims there on Lucia's trio. This is Stasio still has a solo here. We're taking a look at MC2R. They need to finish in the top 26 to get into the semifinals. So they're in the same kind of swinging for haymakers as well to get to the next stage. They may not be able to get to the finals here, but they still have a lot to play for. And considering they're at the doorstep of Cammy, Seti, and Teak here, Cammy has to be careful for a team who is that desperate to at least make it to a fighting chance in the next opportunity. Now we go on board to Shay, Gray, and DKS in the 70s, just on the outside looking in. Taking a look at their position here in the zone 4 on that edge here where there's a lot of trios not only already there, but making their way through. So either they try to get into some breathing room, or all of a sudden they're just going to get buried underneath the chaos that happens below them. As you see them, they have a decent structure here. They have some options where they want to play. If they go on the low ground, they will be running into a lot of people in shambles. But right now, they seem to be happy when this up layer here if zone pulls for 5.
They're going to be seeming stressed the entire time just where they are on the board right now. They really need to get a good game here. There's so many teams who are just basically shoulder to shoulder, 80 to 60 points.
Look at the structure.
Have the potential, yeah, and you can see it in the way people are playing as well. Big boxes everywhere. Everyone just expending as much metal, brick, hard mats as possible. They don't want to get bullied and beamed. Seti, Cammy, Teak don't care. They'll try to find a way through. Don't need a key for the door. They have a sledgehammer, and that is that infantry rifle in Cammy's inventory.
It's so dirty and muddy down here in the low. You saw a taste of the high rises, how everyone's vibing, but we all know what Fortnite will do. It will definitely pull away from all this group, and if it does, things are gonna get rather interesting here for Cammy, Seti, and Teak here. But look at them. They're gonna operate and look up and use their harpoon to try to trip anybody making their way over their tarps, and that's MCTR that's in their sights here, and Stasio almost gets tripped.
Big.
Stasio gets found out. Finally, the solo run is over for Stasio. As you mentioned, yes, huge for Cammy's trio.
Let's talk about their special situation. The team ahead of them, Bad Sniper, we mentioned twice already, is down. They're gone. So they've overtaken them in points so far. They're now kind of tied for 4th place. They definitely have the potential here to come top 3.
I said never mind because zone pulled exactly on the high-rise structure here. So we're going to have a man-made kind of high ground resurrected or surrected here by our competitors here in Fortnite. And that is the beauty of this game, is that you can build and change your own fate with your skills.
But for calling it a POI, is it like Stinky Satellite?
Oh,
this thing is going straight to the sky, man. Like,
it's gnarly, man. This is a
some sweats in there,
gnarly thing. It's strong too. It's made out of metal brick. It ain't coming down, and it's just like, a Tower of Inferno right now.
That Granger almost there for the team beam again. It's not gonna come through. It is a very high-rise structure though, so expect every team outside of it to really have the full brunt force of its damage. Different layers of pressure, just focusing the same box over and over. It's so hard to survive.
It's like a post-apocalyptic tower here, folks. It's like one of those things that just has a hard defense. If there's any kind of crazy scrum that's happening outside, it all goes on lockdown. And so just to get in ain't gonna happen.
Check this out. Freemock and Floki right beside each other. 1st and 2nd place are going to be rotating box to box, wall to wall. We've seen what Freemock does to people when they make slight mistakes, when there's a little bit of an opening. He doesn't know exactly who he's rotating beside either. So this could be huge if things go wrong on this rotation.
Yeah, you got to be careful here because Fremont does have a harpoon. So any kind of structure here, even if it's close to fully built, will be able to be broke on through by Fremont. And Fremont, his aim has been so strong here with the purple pump. And they do pull Max here, and it's got to go right through the heart of that lockdown tower.
So they will be side by side. Clement DeCiptos Floki move immediately first. They get bullied by Slender on the left side. That's a fourth place team rolling in, and third place right beside them on the right. The top side of the leaderboard is right beside each other with a max pull zone, and they all go their own ways. Wolfie stays all the way at the back. Clement, this finds the front side of zone. It's like these guys were based up there to start off. They never had max. Never mind. Erase that from your minds. Kami Saditik, though, also on that side. I think it's going to be Fremont who's rotating in the latest. I think they're looking for a way to move forward fast. And if I'm not mistaken, I just saw Floki go down in the feed. So I'm not sure what happened on that rotate, but this is looking bad for the second place team.
Kami Seti and Teak with double harpoons in the inventory are going to look to trip anyone that's above them or kind of pull anyone from down below. This is a great strategy that we've been seeing this meta here, looking very strong, looking for any opportunity to kind of break on through builds and triple spray. If kind of they could get a cutoff here, Shio, on this ground, it's going to be strong for them. As you see Zinni, who's been sitting on top for the entire time, now making a movement, but I don't think anyone really has height on the front side. I don't think anyone can hold it. Looks like Fast Roki maybe making a play for it.
Height doesn't matter too much right now because the top 5 teams are basically on the same layer, and Floki is down. Clement second place is also just at 24 HP. It might be down to DeCiptos again. The solo player clutch mastermind might have to do it once more. A big shot makes Clement stay alive, gets the Elim points, has the way to move into zone. Another big shot, but it's not possible. Right behind him, he gets taken out.
Look at it, Wolfie now has on the height. I think that's Wolfie Fremont who's able to go on the height. They saw it was free. They sat way back into the storm. Late rotation. Everybody moved early like Clementrio, but they waited, and now they have height, and they could be another big performance. No. But their big power player, Fremont, is out. It's all up to Wolfie in default.
Trying to put a fast one like Fast Roki, but it's not possible. He gets taken out while trying to move with this team on high ground. Wolfie, though, is still popping off. Seti, Kemi, Teak have a chance to catch up here. We know DeCiptos might still be alive. The top 4, yes, are still in play. They're in 6th, now jumped up to 5th. They're looking to break top 3, but it's so difficult. Everyone is still alive, and that placement now is going to come in big folds. One of these guys needs to go down. Fremox Elim still gets confirmed in the feed. Wolfie's is still popping off. Kami picks up another. Ardent is still active. It's the top 5 who are getting all the Elims right now.
Fast Roki took height away from Ardent, so now it's Fast Roki Pizza looking very strong, holding on to the top with the ability to kind of push themselves into a 1 to 2 placement.
The top teams are making an island and an airport by themselves, and they have the most ridiculous, basically, terms and conditions for being able to be in the top 5 with each other. They're barring anyone from coming in with all these Elims. They're making this their own world.
Shay, DKS, who did not have a great match in the previous game, on the backside, making the way forward with the layer switch here, now running into Teak. Seti, this is the bad layer to be on. Teak gets Shizo out you go. Now it's DKS all alone here, but Pizza Ardent and Fast Roki trying to push them down here.
Fast Roki got heights. Now they're the ones all the way up top. They're looking really good and trying to go for that second place, maybe even first place slot. I think DeCiptos, yes, has been fully eliminated. Kami, though, is in a solo situation. This is what he needs to be and exactly where he needs to thrive, because he needs to get that top 3. Big Elims might start to come through here, but now a top 4 situation. Yes, he got the placement for top 3. Fast Roki's popping off. He's moving up the board. Kami is trying to stay right beside him, but he's gonna have to take out Ardent and Pizza by himself. Here's the big one on the Ardent. He gets halfway. It's the second one there too. Full Elim in the same box. Big flick on the Fast Roki. Kami is insane. He's taken out 2 of the best players in the lobby so far, out of height by himself, and it might have been just enough to come through in the top 3 after this game.
That opened up the opportunity for Floyd, Slender, and Wolfies here to get the victory royale here. Look at it, 6 Elims trying to add the 7th here. Only one person here. Oh no, Slender goes down. Pizza, everybody loves Pizza, and Pizza's gonna have a 2v1 situation. Pizza has height, Pizza does it, and down he goes as Wolfie was able to kind of stop that push from Pizza, but holy, Fast Roki getting height early and getting so many Elims. Shio, we had a top 5 all alive in the end game, making their movements, and it was just so metaphoric to see everyone in the same situation, in the same rotations, in the same layer. But the results are different here, considering that Wolfie's trio came out on top.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the top 6 minus Bad Sniper that were basically active, getting almost, I think, every elimination past the top 10. So this will be the biggest shakeup we've seen in any qual week. I'm excited to see what the desk has to say.
Oh my gosh, we get the back-to-back. We saw Fremont do this exact same thing 2 games ago. Okay, you assume you're watching this game, you're like, everything's gonna unfold the way it should, high ground's gonna win. No, this time Cammy's like, no, friends, you know what, we're looking for top 3. I need to put my team on my back right now, and that's what we got, Reese. This is what we want. This is what I live for.
Look, the victory royales are good, they're amazing, you know, amazing play from Wolfie's team on low ground to manage to pick it up. But the solo plays are what bring the hype. And Cammy, we cannot not talk about how much of a huge pop-off that was. Most importantly, because that is so critical for them for climbing up to the top 3. You know, we saw Teak and Seti go down a little bit earlier. They're playing so good as a trio. But Cammy definitely clutched up, I think probably roughly around 15 to 20 points by himself, which is so critical to climbing up the leaderboards.
Yeah, it's so beautiful to see, especially because when you actually look at sort of what they're known for in terms of their play style, they're actually known to be a trio who maybe doesn't get the most eliminations, right? And I think that sort of has made people forget how incredible Cammy is mechanically, right? You know, he's just put on display there. He's got some of the best mechanics in the region, and I think it's just it takes your breath away. You know, I can't even speak right now. You know, it's crazy that was insane, and what it does to the standings is going to be crucial going forward into that last game.
Especially considering, like, being able to shut down Ardit and his teammate Festroki, leaving Pizza alone, right? Like, he's also shutting down other trios from, like, getting a victory royale, right? An extra 6 points that would have rise them up the leaderboard. He's like, no, don't worry, I got it. I'm locking it all down. Amazing stuff, especially here toward the end. Now, Levin, much like this performance, we got to talk about Fremont, what he's doing for his trio coming into this last game. What have you got for us?
Well, look, you know, I've been sort of highlighting him consistently over the course of today, and I do want to just show you guys, because Cammy did much of the same last game, right? You can see here, he comes in endgame pre-box. You might be thinking, you know, he's made this box, he's built it. He doesn't have any intention necessarily going there, right? But he's doing it to gain control, right? And you'll see how effective this is in a second, because after he builds this box, he steps right back. And what it actually does, it delays Cammy and Teak. This is actually Cammy and Teak here in the box. You'll see this here, I believe is Teak. It delays Cammy for just that second longer, because he has to take a moment, right, to actually break the box to get out, right, because they're trying to path along themselves. And what that actually means is that he has a free shot. He comes back, he takes a right-hand peek as well. You see how he sets up on that wall, right, perfectly, and it's really effective because it means that he gets a shot, and that delay, right, was just long enough for him to come back in the end and then pick up the elimination here, right? Super effective plays from him, right, using these typical box fight mechanics that we see in creative and in other game modes. And then here, you can't teach that, man. Just box like fish, box like fopper. What can I say? Picks up the elimination there. Super impressive stuff. And this is what I'm talking about, right? Cammy did much of the same in the next sort of game. And when you're sort of keeping these sort of mechanics in mind, it is just so hard to deal with as a player. And you can see it from Cammy's perspective, what it looks like, right? You know, Teak has to stop there to break through the box. Look at this. You know, look at how hard of a shot this is for Cammy. You know, he can barely see Fremont because he blends in. And the right-hand peak means that there's just not that much vision. There's not that much space for him to actually shoot at. And so super effective mechanics there from Fremont, right? And he does much of the same, right? If you look towards, you know, endgame, right? When they're playing in high ground scenarios, right? You know, he's super aggressive. He's going to drop down. He understands, look, I got to take advantage of these angles. He drops down. He realizes people are playing black side of the zone. I'm going to come in here and do that as well, right? Take shots on people who are going to be exposed. Super effective stuff. And it's a reason why they've been on top of the leaderboards.
Yeah, and speaking of the leaderboards, going into the final game, right now, they are in first place, 190 points. Let's be real. They've qualified. No one's going to knock them out. What do we need to notice? Festroki, Pizza, Ardit, super on the budget. These guys need to be able to do this, right? They need to be able to stay there. A couple points should be secured. Slender, Void, Wolfie, so close. Floki, Clement, to sit those. Seti, Cammy, Teak. Coming into this final game, these are the 4 teams you need to keep an eye on in that elimination feed.
Man, this is it, guys. We got one game left to go, and any of these second through fifth place teams can jump up into those second and third place spots. Remember, top 3 auto qual. Everyone else is playing for series points and looking to make it into the semifinals 2 weeks from today. One game left to go. Who will come out on top? Shia Wager, Sancho West. Let's do this, baby. One last time. Game number 6.
6 teams, 3 on offense and 3 on defense for the moment. We'll see who will break out in the top 3 and make it to the FNCS finals. It's the last game of VU. Shia Wager, Sancho West are here to show you exactly how it breaks down.
And the story for the EU region, it's been the offensive teams that are pushing all the way through from the top 10 up into the top 3 with a clutch performance. We saw Flowis's trio do it last week. We saw Jamside's trio in week 1. Who is it going to be here in the final week before the semifinals? It is time. Let's go.
The pressure is on for Solary's Floki at the moment. Last game, it was the first man to go down for a squad. As a result of this, they did not get to pick up as many points as they would like to, and now they're stuck from second all the way, I believe, to 4th place. They're looking outside in at the FNCS finals, and they're contested off drop. A very disastrous and scary situation. We'll see how they handle it in Slurpy Swamps.
Yeah, we're seeing Kira here. Kira usually is in Lazy Lake in the previous round, now making an appearance here at Slurpy Swamp, considering that it was open. It's one of those POIs that's open, and we will take our best opportunities to look at the feed here and see who is able to withhold their placement on their leaderboard until it gets to in-game, where so many placement points are doled out and so many eliminations happen. We've already seen pop-off games from Fast Roki. We've seen multiple pop-off games from Fremont. Who is going to pop off next to get into the top 3 and get into the finals? That's what we're all watching here with a bated breath.
Kira's coming in right now, 23 so far, or ranked 23 on the series leaderboard. So he's looking really comfortable to qualify for semifinals. It's the top 99 over there. They're kind of cumulative points overall for how things have gone every single qualifier week. Floki and Deceptos, though, for these guys, although they're also qualified through series points, they really want to get that top 3, and they have a chance to. Here's the breakdown. Kira, did he take out someone yet? No, not exactly at all. No damage done to anyone on Clement's team at all. This is going to be patient, but as soon as a little bit of a damage that comes in, even a knock, it's going to go straight towards the wall. Stuck on the side. Clement didn't see Maestro. It's not going to be a problem. They still haven't taken any damage yet. Although they're low on mats for the meantime, on an early game fight, having 170 metal is a big plus.
Sometimes fights do get drawn out here in the Slurp Factory.
That's 2.
That's 2 right then and there. The shakedown goes through, so that's going to be a very moment here. A scary situation here for Clement's trio. Looking at their history here, and last week they came in 4th place, like you mentioned. And they had an uncontested Pleasant Park. We all predicted that they'd be able to get in here. And now they're going to try to wrap up this engagement here against Sirhat. Sirhat holding on strong and gets eliminated. A little bit of sigh of relief from Clement's trio, considering that in coming in, had that top 3, and they were one of those ones where someone come up and snatched them away. Considering how close they were, this is what I was going to say. Clement, this is just a semi, I don't think it's a permanent spot. Maybe they go back to Pleasant. Maybe they continue to fight Benji. Basically, what I'm trying to say is they want to get in. If they get here, they don't have to deal with Benji. They don't have to deal with anyone else contesting Pleasant Park. They could say, okay, we'll go back to our home in Pleasant Park. We'll hold it down in the finals. Because so far, it's only been Benji that's been there. And they always, a couple of people come into the qualifiers. So that's how important it is for them to get into that top 3 and not be satisfied with the semifinals advancement.
So with that situation in context, what Sancho's talking about is basically people end up qualifying from these, big hotspots, and Slurpy Kiriachi came through, popped off, and moved on.
Yes.
And so it leaves them open. Floki and Benji, as you guys all know, if you've been watching the FNCS, contest at Pleasant so much against Benji. Sancho's mentioning that, yeah, Benji is in 11th right now. Definitely we'll see them in semis. Don't really have a chance to get top 3 today. It's up for Floki to basically have this free spot now, use it, qual for finals, and then get some other free spot there. Sancho, we know in the finals with 33 teams, there's always a way to strategize. You have some time, you'll get one of those good drops.
And that kind of time is really kind of, I think it's slept on. I saw Reverse 2K, who was able to get in last week, tweeted out that he's been going into VOD reviews, he's been chilling, has been kind of resetting his mental, and that kind of stuff we haven't yet seen in this kind of format. What does the effect on the teams who have the time? Remember, we're going to take a week break going into the next stage of the semifinals. We've already had 3 teams who auto-qualified from the previous season. Loads of time to study their competition, loads of time to figure out what would be the perfect game plan to execute. And as you see there with the, and I love when that happens here, when there's a llama in the water here. But Fast Roki here, Pizza and Ardent having Misty Meadows, and already Jam Side claimed Misty Meadows already qualified. So that will be Fast Roki's opponent in the finals. But we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves because we still have the top 3 at play, considering right now in this match, top 10 are still alive.
Now you were saying Fast Roki's opponent in the finals. I was like, wait a minute. Like,
yeah,
there's still 164. There's a chance they slip up.
Yes.
Sasha, they're playing risky. I think that's the biggest reason, right? If you're talking about Wolfies, I feel like these guys have a sound game plan. They're moving through. It's consistent. For Fast Roki, man, they're a spiky trio. I don't know how to describe it, but like, they're just a thorn on everyone's side. They're always using another trio. To get their dirty work done, to get a good rotation off, to get the damage off of. As I said before, they're like catcher type beats, interrupters on the server.
To go into the leaderboard, Slender, Void, and Wolfies, they're not really competing for Dirty Dogs, even though that's where they're landing here temporarily. They're competing for uncontested retail row. So they get into the top 3, they'll have a strong opportunity to do that, considering throughout their entire qualifiers, what's always been tripping up Wolfie's trio has been taking bad fights off spawn, losing those opportunities. So if they could get in, they don't have to deal with Kiko's trio that's currently landing right then and there.
Now, what's at stake right now for these teams you're watching, Pizza, Ardent, Fast Roki, any team really who's above around 100, 130 points, I think Cammy said he are the line on that. It's the top 5 teams, is a free ticket to finals. And I say free, but like you're gonna have to do a little bit of work here in the last game. You get to skip the semifinals if you're top 3 and go straight to the finals. You get an early chance to claim a drop spot. You get a little bit of notoriety. You get a lot of relief. You don't have to play through another qualifier again, trying to hit top 6 overall. And we know for people who have risky drops, who have complicated drops, they can get dissected in an instant. What's the Seti Kemi Teak split, right? That one is so easy to dissect. We saw a week where this trio, who's playing so well today, was in shambles because there was a team that just completely counterplayed them. So for them, it's so important to hit top 3. They're 5th right now. They're 20 points almost behind the 3rd place team. They're gonna have to not only make up the points this game, but hope that that 3rd place team of Wolfie, Slender, and Void goes down a little bit earlier.
And now we're seeing DKS's trio, If the Spire. They had an opportunity to get in. They were holding on to top 3, and it slipped throughout the day. So Gray, Shaykos, and DKS, they fell. I mean, Shay and Gray, they were in the semifinals, in the heats last season. They want to avoid that. So is DKS there. But now we're seeing opportunities, people looking for that skip here that kind of ended their run last season in the next stage.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just getting an update here that Wolfie, Freemock, and LMNX 97 default actually ended up going down. Our 1st place team is no longer in this game. I think so, yeah.
Wow.
What I'm saying, yeah. So the 1st place team not able to catch that fight go down, but they end up completely eliminated. They're stuck at 190 points in total. Fast Roki now is basically our effective eyes at the top prize at the moment. With 164 points, they can clinch 1st place. They're looking really good for it, but right now there's a big fight going down. I want to focus on this top right perspective. They're in a very high fight in altitude and elevation. All around them, big shots going down. Oh my god, the nice pinch there from Fast Roki, helping out Ardent in the box. Stink, this is going to be a problem. Stink moves right here. Ardent such low HP effectively in total. 2 straight in. This fight is not over. Just 1 peg is down so far.
This is the kind of engagement that Kiko's trio did not want it, as I mentioned in the previous game. They do not want to have these early game engagements on rotation here. But Fast Roki, Pizza, and Ardent, you've been mentioning there have been thorns on everybody's side, but right now there have been a major thorn right here on this rotation for Kiko, as Kiko has already been eliminated.
I feel like Scram were the ones to actually come through with Kiko and look to do something, right? They're the ones who are on the backside in the top 15. They need these types of elims. Yes, Sancho, you're right. They don't like to look for this stuff, but in game 6, sometimes you're forced to do what you don't like to do.
It's always tough when your hand is dealt, when you have to go all in and you don't have strong cards. Look at that. So much was invested in that engagement. Patrick and Scram have to go away, but look at that. The receipt, when you get that bill. I know a lot of us who are big fans of Fortnite don't know what bills are, but no, it's not good. It's not good when you see that big old paycheck dwindle away when the bills come through. So all that hard mats investment may be the end of the ride here for Patrick and Scram as they're retreating here. But Fastroki still has an opportunity to get into the #1 spot, considering that first place went down. And hey, I think that's the first shot we've seen with a bow on broadcast today. Okay.
Big shots, man. The infantry rifle's kind of taken a little bit of the glory away.
Yeah, absolutely.
From the good old.
I would take infantry all day. I'm sorry. I don't care what input I'm playing on. Doesn't matter. Mobile, controller. I mean, gestures. I'm using the infantry rifle 100%.
And check this out though. For this squad, their story entirely today. Ristretto RZ got an 80. They were, correct me if I'm wrong, like first or at least top 2 to start off the first few games, right?
50 points in first place after game 1, yes.
And now they're at 109. They were so close to, like, you know, being towards glory in the top 3. Kind of fizzled out though. I think though with Freemock down, with our team in first down, a victory royale is 30 placement points. And then past that, every elim is 2. If they pull some type of, you know, Kaiser Classic, Dubs Mega Classic World Cup days, maybe there's a chance. I'm being highly optimistic though, because that run would have to start now. They'd have to key a set lobby of elite players. That's not usually what goes down.
Sometimes optimism is all you need, but you're right. They're going to need to make some movements just like this one right here. Going into this match, top 10. They're just sitting there at the Spire, and you mentioned it. Not really keen, everybody, but I think they're kind of saying at end game we will pop off, considering that I'm just taking a look. I'm assuming that the reason why there's so many trios already here is zone is looking right over here. And then if this zone ends up here at the Spire, we haven't seen too many in the EU side of things. We've only seen things on the south side. But if it ends up here, expect a lot of spectacular play here with the zip lines in play. You can just hear the wind up here. That's how high up, right? You hear that.
Yeah, it's definitely cloudy skies. And it's kind of the calm before the storm. It's fun to talk about these teams, Sancho. You know, I think pre-4th zone. It's cool to see how their stories will change. Yeah, there might be a potential for huge pop-offs for DKS, Strayclaws, and Grangel, right? 102 points, already 3 elims. I can feel the end game monstrosity that might just occur with this team, but I feel like it still is just, you know, the top 5 that really have a chance right now for the top 3.
And we're showing this team because we've seen in the EU region, teams from this position make a huge movement up their leaderboard with the last game of the day. So that's at stake. That's one of the teams you have to keep an eye on the feed. DKS, Gray, and Shakos being a newly formed trio for this season.
And all these newly formed trios, all the ones coming in past the top 5, RZ, Bad Sniper, Kaspersa with Fixie, Jachu, Kefi, and Cubic, so good today overall. They had a big goal to make, and they made it in 9th place. Everyone here has enough of those series points to qualify for semifinals. They played the quals to their best ability, and a majority of them will be moving on. We'll see them in just a few weeks battling it out for the finals once again. Top 99, and a lot of them are playing today. So it's been really cool to see. The focus now, though, for the rest of this game should be on how things are moving with Fastroki, Pizza, and Ardent on your screen right now. 2nd place, I talked about defense versus offense at the start of this game. They're going to be one of those guys on defense looking to stop anyone else from affecting them. And although DKS, Shaycause, and Grangel aren't in the conversation to hit top 3, they can still affect any of these 5 teams rolling in, trying to get for the top spot. Everyone here in this game, all the arrows you see on the left side of the screen are important.
Coming down to the final moments here of the last week of qualifiers. Semifinals will happen 2 weeks from now. A lot of time will pass here, but Fastroki on the fast track to solidify a top 3 placement here in the bottom right. You're seeing DKS reining in a lot of things. We have to keep an eye on as well. Slender, Void, and Wolfies. Where are they? Where are they positioned, considering that they're coming from Dirty Docks here? It means they're going to run right into the Spire side of things, and that's going to be very difficult to rotate through. We all know the Spire buildings are so weird to kind of fight in, considering a lot of archways could eat up a lot of walls there. It's very dangerous. Kind of reminds me of the old school tilted towers here. And yes, here's a piece to that. Look at all these structures not inside the buildings at all, considering how like I said, just awkward sometimes. You try to think a wall could go there in Shio and just not place because there's a little archway or a little half wall that eats it up.
Definitely awkward structures all around the Spire, but there is a prized treasure inside this box. It's this POV we're watching of Seti, Teak, and Cammy. 141 points right now. These guys are basically the bottom line of the biggest chance to qualify today in the top 3. 5th place at 141 points. They want to break in past, I would say, 160. They need around 20 to 30 more points here. And Sancho, that means they have to make a deep end game, something they've kind of struggled with to do as a trio. It's been solos, but as a trio, they didn't make it there this time.
If Zone pulls away from the Spire, that's going to be bad news from Seti's trio and a side Slender's trio as well. Anybody coming through, just super bad.
Yeah, Slender's trio, though, have picked up a few eliminations on their side of the Spire. So the west side's been eating today. On the east, though, it's kind of a little bit more patient. They only have 2 in total right now. They know there's a solo player here. It's Sancho, man, going for this. It's gonna be risky. They pick it out in a second. Usually, we see the big base get built. We see the expansion of boxes. But this is just deliberate, instant, lethal. They get that Elan fast.
This is going to be a box fighter's paradise right now, considering so many boxes are being created. So expect anyone that has dominant fighting presence like Wolfies to pop off in that situation, and they were able to find a solo player in Patrick on the top right. Take a look here. So many people already in the safe zone for the final one, and zone 5 is going to be extra spicy. If it goes up to the Spire, we're going to be talking some chaos here in the final moments of game 6. And Slender, Wolfies, and Void, a newly formed trio, looking really good here, considering they're on the outside. They're just holding on. Remember, keep an eye on 164. That is the 3rd place right there, the threshold in the lobby.
And welcome to this Wild Week. It's going to be the one of fire. Here's the big gas finisher that goes through a big boom onto Ardent's box. This is, Wolfies, Void, and Slender versus Pizza, Ardent, and Fast Roki. 3rd versus 2nd. And they're not going to find anything. Here's Bat Sniper rolling back in. Was just in the top 5. Missed 1 game. Yup, 7th. At a very large distance away from being inside the top 3. But if they want to start going towards that spot, they need to have action now.
You have to go through the leaderboard as well. And it's literally the leaderboard sitting on their layer, sitting on their rotation. They have to make their way through. Floki, Deceptos, and Clement are sitting in 4th place right now, on a decent opportunity here to kind of sneak their way here on the low ground, but it's the firepower that I'm concerned on. Deceptos only with the green pump. Only 3 floppers can make some flopper plays, but it's not going to be looking that they're going to have that power that they always use, that purple pump.
And we're talking about the points a lot. The position matters a lot too. It's just when you're in these types of bases, you can't really move much anywhere. And we know Deceptos is not going to take the biggest and most riskiest peaks. A floor edit is here as a trap, though. Right? The actual traps might be vaulted, but this is big old school moments.
Coming down to the final moments here. Every edit matters. Ooh, the lobby focus on Go-Go's trios. Too strong. Seti, and Cammy here on 5th place going into this match here. So you have Cammy, Seti, and Teak here on off the low ground. You have Clement on the low ground. You have Slender, Void, and Wolfies here, chilling in a kind of huge kind of structure. Look how much it stretches. Slender, they had a nice tarp here on the outside, but it doesn't matter, Shio. Everybody's being evicted and pushed off the Spire to the north when there's only 1 trio chilling.
It's gonna be a river basically separating 2 sides of the land. No
Major
man can cross it without having a big consequence. Void is making it complete raw rotation, no build. He pays the price there. Cammy goes down but gets picked up by what looks like Seti. He's going to be reviving him so far. He put him on his back, now finds him in the box. They have 2 medkits, they split 1-2, but the timing, Sancho, the timing. They're going to be down on time. This is an early rotate type team, and they're going to be late.
Max pool with so many trios needing a top 3 finish. Who can survive this major big rotation here as DKS is going to be turned into some loophole from Teak here. Cammy setting Teak coming in late here. If there's anybody that's already solidified in the front, so that's why SETI, they go up and above. They're trying to make a way in a clean layer, and now they're going to turn and burn and try to get some elims here, considering that they're not going to be able to get in cleanly here. They're going to try to stop anybody from coming up from behind them, considering, look, that's Roki, Pizza, and Ardent. They're sitting right below them and looking a lot better, considering that they're already on the move towards the backside of zone.
Right below them for the moment. Two big teams side by side, but SETI, Cammy, and Teak aren't in just yet. One issue with top teams surviving, right? The second and third place team is that if SETI, Cammy, and Teak don't pop off with elims, they're not going to be able to overtake on points at all.
Right.
If you guys are focusing in right now and trying to understand what to watch for this 6-zone rotation, pay attention to the points right now on screen. Anyone above 150 points has a chance to make it to the FNCS finals, and this is the last qualifier that you have a chance to do so. Floki, the Siptos, Clement, they're going to be rolling in at 4th. They're right outside the top 3. They have a chance. Meanwhile, Pizza, Ardent, and Fast Roki, they hold the line at 2nd place, rolling in.
I got to go back, Clement, with a beautiful cutoff there on Coach Trio. So what a great work right there, getting the front side and cutting them off. But now we're watching Pizza, Ardent, and Fast Roki here in 2nd place with an opportunity to get to the 1st place. They cannot slip off. They're in a decent layer on the mid ground. They do have some opportunities to look down below and maybe shoot some beams this way. But I'm thinking you better just get in as much as possible. You're getting placement points. The E-limbs are not going to essentially rack you up, but they decide, no, Sancho, we're going to try to pick on Lucius Trio, who are rotating in late. You said it right then and there, Shio. If you get placements, fine. But if the other teams that are below you are racking up E-limbs, they're going to be getting E placements and E-limbs at the same time. So that's why Pizza Trio is taking this risk.
Got to play both sides of the game, and we're dropping a lot of numbers right now. The one we haven't really talked about is first. Who's in first place? Where are they? They went down earlier in the feed. This is why anyone in the top 5 has a chance to come through and pop off. Pizza and Ardent in the same box. Take out Jankos. Fixie now is on complete ultimate defense. Can he hold on? Can he not crack? Will he falter is the question. Pizza lost in the sauce. Fast Roki out of shield. Ardent, this might be the moment where they get taken out and their story ends.
When you're late to rotate, you're in the backside, and that's where bad things happen. And right there, Void out. It's up to Slender and Wolfies to be able to get in. This is our 3rd place team sitting at 175, the threshold, in danger of being eliminated. Wolfies trying to get to the front side. Wolfie's gonna make his way back. His Ardent is right behind them. You gotta watch out. That's 2nd place and 3rd place colliding right here on this layer. Can Wolfies and Slender be able to survive the pressure right now? Zone's going to push a little bit north here. Opportunities going to find. Slender's going to go attack SETI. SETI, who's in 5th place here. It's very dangerous right now. Engaged between Slender and SETI here. They could trip each other up and allow an open opportunity. Andalix is on height at the moment, but all the focus is what's happening down below between Ardent, and Ardent picks up Deceptos. Big elimination right there for Ardent Trio. It keeps their hopes alive. Just hold off anybody that's going to contest them and take away their top 3 finish. On the bottom right of the screen, it is Wolfies. Wolfies on the low ground. So far, being content with placement points, not taking any kind of risky elim plays.
He took Cammy out, but goes down in return to Zini. This is going to be so tragic for the 2nd place team, but I feel like they've done enough to be ahead of points entirely. Wolfies, yes, did get fully healed up. 179 points. He's looking to push forward and hopefully get above 190. That's where the 1st place team stopped. He goes straight in the box with a beam. Wolfies doesn't care about your shotgun. This is his box. It's his time, and he has an AR straight to your face. Huge elim at maximum speed to follow through. We'll see if Thunder can come up behind him. Fast Roki now has to clutch as a solo as well. 197 points. They've taken over 1st place, and Wolfies is right there, almost there in 2nd.
Keep an eye on Clement and Cammy. If Clement and Cammy, they will have an opportunity to get in and sneak in 3rd place. SETI is the only person there of that trio be able to hold on as much as possible. Has to survive the pressure from height of Andalus and Stacy here. It's SETI. SETI's still up. He takes out Fast Roki. This will be a big, oh no, SETI gets confirmed. X-Squeeze closes the door on that ride. Code on the bottom here. Sniper here has maybe could get into the top 3. I'm not sure. It's going to be a major pop-off, but 185 locked in right then and there. And Andalix and Snazy and X-Squeeze be a little too late, and the people that were competing for a top 3 are out.
All the top 3 out. I feel like the actual movements in the leaderboard didn't happen, and we'll see the same top 3 we had coming into this game go to the finals. But now it's about overall standings and prestige. Can Andalex and Squeeze and Stacy break their demons, triumph everything they've kind of went through today, and come out with a big game in 1st place? They're going down for the big drop, and it's gonna be a nice 3-man pinch beam What a game from Andalex, a nice game 6 win, and what an almost shakeup on the standings as well, Sancho.
12 elims in the Victory Royale may not be enough to get them into that top 3, but will give them the momentum into the semifinal stage if they didn't make it in. I think that's what we were asking. The champions were knocked down on their feet throughout the entire qualifying stage, and maybe, just maybe, able to shake off the ghouls and the horror ship that they've been having in the last opportunity here in the last round of the qualifier, Shio.
I think the top 3 will still end up staying that top 3. If I was looking at the points correctly, though, might be a little switch up in third, but it all depends on those final elims and placement at the end of the day. That's it, though, from Shio Wager and Sancho West for EU's qualifiers. The semis and the finals are up next in just a few weeks, but before that, the desk can still wrap up what we saw today.
Thank you guys so much. Fantastic cast on the day. My goodness, what an incredible 6 games of Fortnite action. Gotta give it to X-Squeeze, Snazy, and Andalex. However, they needed to do that much earlier on, but still, it's going to give them that momentum. Like our casters said, that will give them momentum into semis that they can hopefully use to propel themselves into finals. Thoughts on this last game, gentlemen? I was just surprised to see the leading trio for so long be basically the first team out that last game. That was not what I was expecting.
Look, I don't know what just happened that end game. There was so much movement in the leaderboards. So many of the top teams, from this teams from 2nd all the way down till 8th, were still in the running through moving zones up until very, very close to the end. We saw, I think, if my math was right, I think we saw Wolfies on 184. And I think we saw Floki's team, or potentially, yes, Floki's team on 185. I'm not sure. We'll have to check a look at the leaderboards to figure it out.
Yeah, that's always the funny part. Like, Shai is always like, yeah, let's get back to this and let us know. I don't know either, mate. I'm still waiting, you know? Like, I'm looking at the numbers like you, trying to calculate the numbers to see, but nah, honestly, that game was ridiculous. And like you said, though, and Alexis trio, it was a bit too late for them. We talk about momentum, you know, they have a week off, so they're eventually gonna cool down, right? Hopefully they'll be able to take, you know, something away from this and use it in the heat. But in terms of that sort of top 3, I think I'm gonna go Shy. I think it does seem like it stayed somewhat the same, but I guess we're just gonna have to find out.
Hey, we don't have to wait that much longer. I believe we have our winners coming out of qualifier number 4. It's Fast Strokey, it's Pizza, it is Ardent. They overtook in the last moments of that game 198 points of Victory Royale, 41 eliminations, an average placement of 7.5. Reese, in the final moments, because Fremont and his trio went down early, this was the momentum that they needed.
Yeah, and, you know, Wolfie, Fremont, and Default, they needed some points in that final game. They just managed to kind of slow down and not manage to pick it up. Obviously, went out in 28th. But for Strokey, Pizza, and Ardent, man, did they absolutely capitalize on that going into that final game. 198 points, by the way, is the record for EU so far. So the highest we've seen across the last 3 weeks. Huge, huge performance for them, and huge congratulations for taking over the first. I'm sure they're going to be really happy about it.
Yeah, 100%. But, you know, although they sort of went down early in the last game, and although they even got eclipsed on the leaderboard, I think we still got to spotlight, you know, Wolfie, Fremont, and Default. I think when you just look at what they did over the course of all the games, it was just so spectacular. And I think, you know, they had the record, right? They had the record for the highest points in an EU round 4 session so far this season. But then for Strokey's team come out in that final game and sort of take it almost 200 points. Like, the thought of someone getting near 200 points in round 4 is ludicrous almost. But you know, great stuff all around from most of these teams in the top 8 today.
Absolutely, you love to see it. Now, of course, we got to take a look at some of the stats, because this trio, like you're saying, almost was record breaking, but they did have a few records of their own. So do keep in mind the total was 192 points. The current record in a qualifier, number 4, you've got Fast Strokey, Pizza, and Ardent. However, Reese, we got to take a look at these other things, because these guys just set some records.
Yeah, they set some records, most importantly, firstly, for the amount of eliminations that they had, right? That actually ties the amount of eliminations, so 45 total, which was absolutely incredible across 6 games. You know, that is an average of 7.5 for a game, which for a team that doesn't even win into the first place, you know, they were in second, is absolutely nuts. They also had 3 over 10 elimination games, which also, again, ties the record, but across all regions. So a huge, huge shout out to these guys. Elims popping off, fragging. Same with their top 10 games. They had 4 top 10 games, which is most of any today. So not only realistically were they the team who was managing to get the most eliminations, but they're the ones who are consistently getting into that top 10 as well. But unfortunately, it was those 2 games where they kind of, well, that one big game, the last one, to be honest, where they just managed to get overtaken by Frostroki's team, which was huge for them.
You know, I don't think they'll be upset about that. I don't think they're too bothered about that. I think the big thing for them is that they are going to be one of the teams who now auto-qualifies for the finals, right? It's funny because I believe Default literally tweeted out before the game, yeah, guys, we've qualified, it's fine. And then they end up loading in and going down really, really fast. But still, you know, a great day for them. And almost like you said, Zeke, a record-breaking day. Very, very close, tying a lot of the records. But regardless, you know, they're going to be just happy to go straight to the finals.
Hey, well, we got to see who else is going through. Let's take a look at our final standings. So you basically know which 2 teams are in first and second, rather. Bastroki, Pizza, Ardit, Wolfie, Fremont, and Default. But look at this, boys. Floki, Clement, Deceptos, they finally make the top 3. They came into this last week, were edged out by literally a handful of points, came in 4th and missed it. This week, though, you called it, Reese. They wanted to come back. They had a flame that was ignited inside, and they said, we will qualify. We will make top 3.
I think it's poetic. I think it's poetic for Floki, Clement, and Deceptos because, like you mentioned, last week they were knocked out by a single placement, right? That was when Flois, Kaiser, and Hellfire won the final game last week, and that knocked Floki, Clement, and Deceptos out of 3rd place, so that made them lose that qualifier. And now it was the exact opposite. They actually managed to survive 1 placement point longer than Slender, Void, and Wolfies and managed to keep them up at 3rd. So it was the complete mirror of what we saw last week. So huge props to them. I don't think anyone can kind of disagree that Floki, Clement, and Deceptos deserve that top 3. They played out of their mind.
Oh, 100%. And, you know, we had the question, you know, they're not going Pleasant. Will they be able to do it going Slurpee? Or that answers your question, right? They are going to be one of the teams now who we see straight to the finals. And rightfully so, right? Last season, they didn't make it out of heats. They didn't make it past semi-finals. So, you know, now that completely eliminates the chance of that happening. So, you know, props to them. Slender, Void, and Wolfies, though. A newer formed trio. They should be happy with the way they perform. They are going to be playing in the semi-finals, and they are going to be a strong contender to make out their heat, because what a performance today. Wolfie's now coming back into the fray, right? He was someone who last season, he didn't even make it into the semi-finals, right? Playing with Lecce and David. So to see him now get back into semi-finals and comfortably, big for his confidence.
Yeah, massive. And I want to go back to Clement for a second here, because last season was the first time that they didn't make a finals out of, well, he himself, sorry, out of every single FNCS. So I'm sure last season was honestly really demotivational a little bit for them, just not making it. But now coming back and managing to qualify this time through the qualifiers must be absolutely massive for him in particular. So huge props to him. He was the most consistent qualifier out of every single FNCS, any game mode, and he's managed to again be consistent and make it through. So huge props to Clement.
And you know, Reese, I think we got to give props to other things, which are the victory royales we had on the day. 6 matches. We got to relive some of that hype, right? This was a crazy day.
This was a nuts game. Like, so you go for it.
I was going to say, you know, sometimes the hype stops us from remembering how we started and how we got here, right? Because the day started with, you know, RZ, God, Addy, and Risotto, you know, on fire. They looked like a team that was going to come through and really just stick it to everybody as a team who isn't necessarily the most established or most known trios within the region. And you know what? Regardless of where they finished, I believe they finished 7th, right? You know, I think they still proved that. They were impressive to start the day.
Yeah, and especially after the previous week that they qualified being, you know, down in 31st, this is a big improvement winning the first game. But, you know, let's be real, game 2 went to Frostroki, Pizza, and Ardit, the team who managed to take it all. Huge match for them. Like, this was definitely a point where you got to look at this team and be like, right, you know what? They are on fire today. 12 eliminations and the victory royale was massive.
Yeah, literally a record-breaking performance from those guys. Stasio, who's somebody who, you know, we've seen Stasio around, and even in last FNCS and qualifiers, you saw him here and there, never necessarily glory. And sort of a similar thing here in the sense of, you know, he has that ability to sort of pick up a game here and there. He started off really slow. You know, first 2 games weren't the best for them, but this game was sort of a bounce back, and, you know, seeing if he can sort of do this in the semi-finals, right, where they, you know, can fight back from adversity is going to be key for them as a trio.
yeah, in particular, game 5, right? We can't forget about these guys. We've talked about them all day. There's no way. The just incredible fighting skill and mechanical skill of Default, Wolfie, and Freemok, like, honestly insane. We've been talking about Freemok a lot, but we must make sure we give Default and Wolfie their kind of limelight time as well. They have been huge today. It's a team sport, and Freemok has been getting some of the limelight because of his incredible mechanical abilities, but this is a team sport. Wolfies and Default played so good as well.
Yeah, and I know we all keep wanting to say Wolfies. You can't get it right. Wolfies, though. This is Wolfies. And, a lot of you watching at home, you'll know Wolfies, second place in the Duo World Cup. I know it feels like centuries ago, but trust me, he's still here. He is still here, and he's here with Void, and they were able to pick up that victory, which was huge for them. And it sort of set up the stage for them to, come into this final game and potentially qual. Of course, things didn't happen that way coming into this last game where Andelex, who was someone who, from the beginning of FNCS, before we even stepped foot in any qualifier, people expected Andelex's trio to be a trio that came in and auto-called instantly.
Yeah, and somehow, unfortunately, they didn't. They ended the day today really hot, obviously, with a big victory, but it was a little bit too late for them, unfortunately, for today. And you know what? They've been one of my favorite trios throughout all the qualifiers. Oh, yeah. They've obviously made it through to the semifinals. I hope they'll make it to that top 6 and be into the finals, because they are absolutely a team who's worthy of being there in the finals. I'm sure they're also going to be beat up about not making it through in this qualifiers, but only 9 teams did across the 3 weeks. There's still plenty more that make it through in the semis as well. And I'm sure some of these teams who may feel a little bit down they didn't make it, they'll 100% have their opportunity in 2 weeks' time in the semifinals.
Oh man, guys, it has been a pleasure. It has been a ride. But this means that Qualifier 3 and the qualifiers are done and wrapped up. Please make sure that you give Shy Wager, Sancho West, Reese, and Levin here a follow. These guys are absolutely incredible. Please do not forget, we are not here next week. The next time we'll be here is May 22nd. That's when we're kicking off semi-finals. Okay, make sure you come back and check all that action out. Semifinals the next day, reboot round, baby. Make sure you are here. Mark your calendars. As always, we love you, Fortnite fam. Don't forget, we're jumping over to NA East if you want more, but if not, then we'll see you on the 22nd. And as always, we'll see you guys on the battle bus.
Beep beep.